extremely accurate. So the reason that in math we use math and we use it for science is because it maps onto physical reality extremely accurately. Now, if you're claiming that metaphysics is a system like math, then we have a lot to discuss because they are not alike in any way, shape, or form. Mathematics is a tool we use.
It's simply retarded. But you don't even understand what physics even is dealing with. So again, how can you critique a system you don't know at all?
I do know, and I reject.
But Abe, how are you ever going to get to like 2 + 2 = 4 without affirming logic?
Facts. By the way, logic is not empirical, by the way. It's not something the senses, by the way.
Jesus,
don't even try to say logic.
Any of the Messianic prophecies, it's just like, that interpretation to say Jesus, did anything resembling like the Messianic prophecies.
There's no way he fulfilled a single one of those. It's so not about. It depends on what your goal is. Like I'm like a liberal Christian. We oftentimes discuss like with conservative theology people about these things. But if your goal is like to turn them atheist, like it could work, but I guess it shouldn't. Like if you go and see someone that there are problems with the Bible, like that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to turn atheist. They can just accept liberal theology. Like we do accept that there are problems with the Bible, and we're still Christians.
Yeah, and on the other end too, what I find is that with an external critique is they can always go back to like, even if the science doesn't make sense, even if the facts don't make sense, they can say, well, God can do anything, right? God is miraculous, God is supernatural. It doesn't matter, for instance, like with the flood, right? There's a million scientific problems with the flood, like the heat problem, the problem of the world actually being submerged in water for 40 days and 40 nights, the idea of like where the water went, where it came from, all this, kind of just really devastating stuff, the idea of a worldwide flood, but even if the science doesn't make sense, a lot of Christians in the end, if they're backed into a corner, will just say, well, God is, miraculous. God can do anything. God could make the water disappear. God could erase the heat problem. God could, just poof the water into existence and then poof it out of existence, right? I mean, it's like not a problem for them, right? These external critiques, because they just say, well, miracles can explain anything, right? Or the supernatural can explain anything. So it's kind of hard to get anywhere if you do that. But I find that like the internal critiques. So Zeleny, you said you're like a liberal Christian. Do you believe that Jesus was the Messiah, that like he actually fulfilled like the Old Testament Messianic prophecies?
Personally, I don't care about that, but I think like a lot of liberal Christians probably will have some general kind of view that God was active like in Jewish history and kind of promised them some sort of Messiah, and that Jesus is the guy, but they're not going to take some sort of like kind of, I don't know what I would call it, like very precise, kind of funny, like let's dissect like some prophetic book and see like if this gets fulfilled, and Jesus, like they're just going to have some sort of general vague view of that.
And wait, so what are you saying there? Wait, hold on a second. So you think that any of these like Old Testament
my forces here have to narrate some type of deception and say, well, he's saying this, but he's saying that, to cloud what you just heard, and then make your mind be like, oh, well,
Okay, this is Shabbos Goys only. Looking for a Shabbos Goy.
Learn about them. I'm just going to the bedrock. But all that's stupid because, like I said, metaphysics at best. I'm not going to say you can't be a metaphysician and like have fun.
What is metaphysics? Is it a word or is it energy?
Hold on, can you? This guy can mute him.
Excuse me? It's a legitimate question.
In Matthew, Mark, and Luke, Simon of Cyrene carries Jesus' cross, whereas in John, Jesus carries his own cross. And then in Mark 1:11 it says, "You are my beloved son," whereas Matthew 3:17 it says, "This is my beloved son." These are pretty good petty ones.
Maybe I'm wrong. Like maybe I'm wrong somewhere in terms of the characterization of what is the way.
Margaret, that hat is all wrong.
Post. There's a difference between you're getting published and posting it. Just posting some shit, some document on the internet where that.
It's like spam, CM. It's all spam.
Graphs of like what I remember from like my life since 1983 or whatever, and I'm just kind of like trying to piece it together as much as I can from what I can.
Right
remember.
now, here on Clown House?
Oh, hey, kick him out. He like.
Kick him! Kick him! Kick him alert! Kick him alert! Kick him! I'll just come back in an anonymous account and continue to record the room.
Low IQ alert. Who wants to kill John? And King Herod is distressed that John gets killed. But then in Matthew, this gets changed to Herod wanting to kill John the Baptist. But then out of sync with the beginning of the story, he is distressed when John is killed. So the latter part of the story is copied from Mark, the first part is changed. So it's like, it has a discontinuity.
Oh, there's also another one too. Where what happened to Jesus after his baptism? Like in most of the Gospels, right? After his baptism, he goes into the wilderness, right? He spends about like 40 days, 40 nights in the wilderness, and gets like tempted by the devil. But then in another one, none of that happens. I think it's John. Maybe it's John's like the weird one out, where he just kind of like goes and like hangs out with his disciples and like the apostles. After that, like there's none of that whole like weird temptation in the wilderness stuff.
I mean, most of those discrepancies are traditionally explained just by the fact that, or the claim that the different authors are focusing on different parts of the story, that you should just like mash them in a single story. Someone says a story, the 10 things that happened, they mention 5, but then another guy recounts the story and mentions, 7 and 2 of the ones that weren't mentioned, and a third guy that mentions the 3 that were left unmentioned in the first 2 stories. That's kind of the approach taken.
Yeah, almost a troll published it on April Fool's Day, 2022.
Why are we even talking about it?
I'm sorry. But people, there could be something in there. I don't know. It's just he's not going about it the traditional way. Because again, he's publishing. You can't publish something. You can't write a paper and submit it, and in the paper, if you say, I kind of don't remember the fucking I'm claiming I proved this theorem, and then in the proof of the theorem, I pretty much say I kind of remember that I proved this part, but I don't remember it right now. So let's just skip it, pretend I proved it, and continue. Like every fucking journal would reject that paper on. Like you have to prove your theorem if you want to get published in a math journal. And same would go for a physics journal.
being. I mean, you can talk about Isaac Newton, you can talk about Charles Darwin, you can talk about the thinkers of the golden age of Islam, Ibn Rushd or Avicenna or whoever. And, they were, scientists, core scientists who believed in the metaphysical realm.
Okay, do you want me to say why that's not relevant, or?
That was your proposition. You're saying that the only reason you metaphysicians talk about this stuff is because you're not in science. But there's so many scientists, proper scientists, who believe in metaphysics. And
first of all, those scientists you're talking about, even though I greatly respect him, he was a brilliant and genius physicist and mathematician, but he wasn't brilliant when it came to God, right? He made a mistake. Because his beliefs in supernatural, whatever God was, or stuff like that, were not backed up in the same way he backed up his scientific claims. The scientific claims he backed up with evidence and math, and that's why we know he's correct. Whereas when he believed,
Anonymous, hey Anonymous,
he was just wrong. He was just mistaken there, because his alchemical claims were wrong. You can't make gold out of metal. He was wrong with that one.
So wait, so do you just think that we can't know anything about non-physical things?
What I'm saying is, by definition, number one, I don't think non-physical things exist, because when we use the word existence,
Can you define physical and existence?
Yeah, in this universe, we're talking about things that are matter and energy. That is what exists.
Okay, so
anything that exists is necessarily spatio-temporal.
So you don't believe numbers exist?
Numbers are a tool that we made up as humans, yeah.
But they don't exist.
No, they don't exist out there.
Neither do thoughts or the mind.
No, your mind is being generated by your brain.
But it doesn't exist because it's not physical.
Well, it exists. It's in your brain, but it doesn't exist outside your brain, no.
Can you point to the mind? Can you tell me where the mind is?
I can just say your brain is generating your mind. That's what's happening.
Generating your mind, which makes you're making a distinction here.
Your brain is a physical thing, it's made out of.
But you're making a distinction between the brain and the mind.
No, I'm not. I'm just using it because you used the word.
Oh, okay. So you think there's no distinction between the brain and the mind?
Yeah, correct. I think your mind is your brain. Your mind is what your brain does.
Is what your brain does. So it's not your brain?
Your brain functioning is minding. It's doing minding.
Okay, so you believe just the brain alone is the mind. There's no separation, no distinction.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
How would you respond to Nessa's question in the comments?
Nessa's question. Yeah. What is the first thing to be physical anyway? Abe is assuming a physicalist metaphysics which suffers from a myriad of issues. What it is for a thing to be physical anyway? I told you, Nasser, right? It's something that is matter and energy. That is what exists by definition. It exists in space and time.
Do you believe being exists?
I don't even know what that means, honestly.
Like a being? Like you?
I believe I exist, but I'm a body, right? I exist in space and time, and I'm measurable.
Right, but do you agree that you're a being?
See, why are we using that word?
Because that's what metaphysics is. We study reality.
I am a
are agreeing, and if you believe that being exists, that you exist, then you are agreeing that metaphysics can make claims about things that exist.
Yeah, but I don't word it like that. You're like wording it in unnecessarily like difficult ways.
No, if you just don't understand what the metaphysical definition of being is, it's okay to ask for it.
Yeah, I think I do, and I think I have to.
Physical and material are the same thing.
Do I think being and material mean the same thing?
No,
No,
physical.
look what Tasha's question is. He's basically saying for me to ask you, does physical and material mean the same to you? That's what he wants to ask you.
I don't use the word material because that's philosophical jargon.
Oh my goodness, bro.
Yeah, I mean, if when you say material, if you mean physical, then yeah, it's the same thing. I don't know how people are using the word material. So
What do you think we mean by matter in Aristotelian terms? What do you think Aristotle meant by matter?
I don't know what Aristotle meant. I'm talking about science. I'm talking about how we define according to physics right now. Yeah.
Aristotle's a scientist.
No, he was a scientist from 2,000 years ago, bro.
Oh my gosh.
We made a lot of progress since then. Yeah.
Okay, so do you think anybody like that studied science that's not modern is like not reasonable or didn't know what they were talking about?
No, but they're just usually mistaken after 2,000 years goes by.
So do you think our scientists will be mistaken in 2,000 years?
In some senses, yes. In some senses, yes.
So what makes your scientists now more valuable than the ones then? If you think that they're just going to eventually be disproved.
Because, first of all, I never said they'll be thoroughly disproved. I just said they will obviously be improved. But what I said is they're right now.
And no, you're saying they'll be. That was exactly what I asked you to say.
Scientists, their collection of the data and their explanation of the data is more accurate than like Socrates or Aristotle's understanding of the data.
What's inaccurate of Aristotle's data?
I'm sure we could go through and we could make a laundry list. The point is, he didn't know about Newtonian mechanics. He didn't know about like Einsteinian relativity.
What's the relevance to that here at all?
Because it has relevance to his understanding the way.
Wait, just not having like a couple like modern day understandings doesn't negate what he said was right. Like you would have to disprove what he said.
It doesn't negate, but it also doesn't prove. He's not demonstrating that what he said is
That's just an argument from silence.
No, it's
Yes,
he has the burden of proof.
What burden of proof? What are you asking Aristotle to prove?
Look, I'm not talking about Aristotle now. I'm just saying when people make metaphysical claims, they have a burden of proof to demonstrate it.
Okay.
If they can't demonstrate it, then it's just them talking.
What are you saying isn't demonstrated? What are you?
Let's start with the belief in God. That's all we're talking about. That is my
I know that. We're about to do 700.
I'm saying everything that is physical exists.
By definition, yes.
We can actually be relevant into the 12th century. Angels, no mention before the 5th century.
I just don't understand.
Like experience is what we do.
That's right. Mention of the universe. Not even God.
God does not change. So any view that human-centric view, it's our perception. Reality is just what you can perceive all our 5 senses.
I can say that it's only that. What I said is it's only that. It's certainly the way we interact and research the universe. And that's how we do it. If there's something that we can't interact with in any way whatsoever, then it doesn't exist.
Previously, physics physically objectify the mind. You know, we're talking about the brain and the mind. You have to identify the mind. So, you know, so where's the mind? Where can you see the mind? Is it
We have a good indication, right? The fact is, this is what people also try to do. They try to like hide behind the hard problem, saying like, "Oh, here's the qualia." Show me the fact that
So he's a crab, but he's a friend.
So the point is this: this is another question, like an open question philosophy about whether the hard problem has merit. Some people think there's some merit to it. Other people think there's not.
About what you do.
I don't have the problem because I don't discuss the hard problem. I think
We're not here to arrest you.
the mind is just what the brain
Because the orderly she tackles you as well to go to prison. Defending himself.
I almost feel them saying
Yes.
the
I
hard
hope this
problem
does not pass. Unfortunately, I say it's just the operation of regret what happened. But my responsibility is to protect the operation community. My responsibility is to protect myself from toxic.
right? Like,
How can we explain?
show me lightning. I can't show you lightning because lightning is not a physical thing. It's a process of energy.
I do it
You have
over
an
and over
ionized
again.
radiation in the
That's my life over and over and over and over and over and over and over.
It literally is an electrical process. So of course I can't show you my thoughts. I can show you a functioning brain. That's all there is.
Dear Lord. Okay, I'm gonna ask you something. So, go ahead.
I want you about where the mind is. So to you, is the mind just the energy transfers or explosions that happen in neurotransmitter synapse? Is that what the mind is?
Yes.
What is it? I want you to give it a unit and to identify it. A unit of measure.
A collection of your biochemical processes, all your organs and your lungs and your heart pumping blood and energy into your brain. And your brain functions. That is your mind. That's it. It's not a mystery.
But you can't identify it. You can't physically put an integer on it or give it a value or measure it, yeah?
Well, you can certainly measure your brain. And we do research all the time on brains.
I'm talking about the mind, all that collection of biochemical.
Yeah. Your mind is just a label. Look, we in society, wait, let me finish. In society, we've developed words. You have to understand the words we're using were invented by people who were extremely ignorant. They didn't know about science. They invented words like mind because they were trying to understand the reality. Who invented mind?
So your ancestors
understand the brain. That's who.
Hang on. What?
Your ancestors who.
Let him answer my question really quick. Who invented the word mind?
Ignorant humans who didn't understand the brain.
You don't even know. Can you tell me the ignorant human?
No, language evolved.
Right.
It's not made up by one human thing. It was made up by society.
So you're just gonna go ahead and assume that this human that you don't know who it was is ignorant. That's what you're doing?
Yes, humans in the past were very ignorant.
You know what's funny? No philosopher. You know what's funny? The philosophers, right? For example, before Abe's theories came up, right? He actually had this theory. I actually believe that the mind is just a irrational operation of the soul, nothing to do with the brain. By the way.
When did I say that?
You said it had to do with the brain.
No, but what I never said about soul.
I just want to say that the mind it's an emergent property of the brain. So the brain has got these processes going on, and
Yeah, Abe would disagree.
I think I would agree with that.
No, because that's a distinction. He doesn't believe in the distinction. He thinks they're identical.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure when you say they're identical.
Meaning there's
you
no
can say it
distinction.
emerges, right? No, but you could say it emerges in the sense that it is being generated by the brain. I would use the word generated, but you could use the word merge. But the point I'm making is you're not going to be able to take a mind and like put it on a plate and like present
Emerging
it on
and
the table.
generating are not the same.
I was gonna run this argument on Abe, right? That the scholastics ran on atheists, but you know what? I won't even do a scholastic argument. I'm just gonna do Leibniz argument. So I'm just gonna use like Leibniz, a logician, right? Which I'm surely you don't think he's retarded, right? I mean,
You might, I don't know. But how would you resolve, what do you think? Do you deny the principle sufficient reason? And if you do, this is going to be very interesting to see.
But hold on. What? Before we get to the PSR, just let's go back for a moment about metaphysics, right?
The PSR is a metaphysical concept.
I know. But before we get to that, we're trying to figure out whether we should do metaphysics at all. Do you agree that if we want to resolve this question?
Okay, here's the thing. The reason why we have to accept this metaphysical principle that Leibniz, introduced, is because in math, in biology, in chemistry, in physics, in metaphysics, we all accept the PSR. If you reject the PSR,
what's PSR stand for?
PSR stands for Principle of Sufficient Reason.
Yes. So if you deny this, then fucking science is useless in general now, bro.
Okay, so hold on. I'll get to that in a moment. But look, if let's say we have a question about reality, let's say the question is, does God exist, right? Do you agree that the way to resolve the answer to that question, if we want to know if it's actually true, is the way we go about it metaphysical or scientific? Which one is it?
God's existence is both metaphysically present and physically present.
Okay. So you believe if it's physically present, then it can be demonstrated using science?
Yes.
Okay, do that for me. Don't give me the metaphysical argument. Just drop that for now. Let's go to the scientific one.
Right, let's do the scientific, which they're both scientific again, by the way. But anyways, again, do you deny the PSR?
I just said I want to talk about science and evidence.
Every science uses the PSR, so I think it's adequate for me to ask you if you
deny. God exists. Give me the physical evidence for God exists.
Forget God right now. Do you deny the PSR or not? We'll get to God.
I want to talk about the physical evidence of God exists.
Yeah, I'll give it to you. But first, do you deny the PSR?
Yes, I deny it. I deny the PSR.
Michael, please.
Hold on. Give it to me first, and then we'll talk about the PSR. Give me the physical evidence of God existing.
How can you reason without a first principle of reasoning?
Oh my God, bro, you're like a little Darth Dawkins. Do you know him?
Yes, son of a...
You're gonna do this presuppositional bullshit on me?
Do you deny the PSR or not, dude?
Are you gonna do this presuppositional bullshit, or are you gonna answer the question?
Oh my goodness.
Just answer the question. You yourself admitted you think God is physical, and he can be demonstrated.
I did not say he was physical.
Whether I accept the PSR
I did not say he's physical.
You didn't say he's physical. You said he's both metaphysical and physical. So,
no, I didn't. I said I can demonstrate his existence both metaphysically and physically.
Okay, you say you can demonstrate it physically. So whether I accept the PSR or not is irrelevant. Just demonstrate that God exists physically.
I deny the PSR because the universe itself, if you apply the PSR to the entire universe, then it means you have to God.
Sure, Michael, one second. I just don't want to go off topic. It's not about the PSR.
It is about the PSR. My whole argument for God's existence is going to be about the PSR, matter of fact.
No, that's not physical then. That's not listening to my instructions.
The PSR is physical?
I just said to you, you said you can prove God physically. You don't need to know anything about the PSR to give you physical evidence that God exists.
What's the principle sufficient reason of our existence, of human existence?
Look, if you're gonna squirm around like a wriggling eel, then you just don't want to have a conversation.
Okay.
You said you can prove God exists physically.
Yes,
when I said give me the evidence for it, you said what about the PSR?
Right. So do you deny the PSR?
I will answer that question after you provide the evidence that God
I need to know this main principle in order
Barry
to
Bozak!
It's irrelevant to have physical evidence. It's irrelevant to physical evidence of God existence.
Streaming more and more on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, capturing the dumbest people that the world has to create for social media audio. This is anonymous kick, anonymous only. Sorry, Henry, you don't have an anonymous account, so I'm gonna have to kick you.
Maybe I'm retarded. Maybe I'm retarded. Matthew and Dustin are.
Maybe you've just been surrounded by Christians.
One second. Matthew and Dustin are.
Oh, you're a plus, I see.
I have a question. Am I retarded for asking him if he denies the PSR in order to demonstrate my God's existence through the physical realm, or no?
Some good shit. You hear this shit, Harry? It's fucking really cringe.
I think there's a miscommunication here, maybe. Like, Abe thinks that, like, I think what you're saying, FL, is that through the PS, you can make a metaphysical argument, right, that establishes God's existence and like some sort of causal power in the physical domain, right? But that's the argument of metaphysical, and that's why you want to invoke the PSR. And he thinks the argument himself.
Look out! He's invoking the PSR. He's invoking the PSR.
Yeah, but that's the point, right? Every single science cannot deny the PSR. If you deny the
Can't
principle
deny the
of sufficient
PSR.
reason, then you deny reason itself. What's the point of even doing science at this point? And here's the thing, right? Let's rewind. That's what I said. Exactly.
Throw up on the stage.
Okay.
No, I mean they're honestly they kicked him just a little while ago.
For an answer to a scientific. For example, if the PSR doesn't hold, the scientist presupposes the rational structure of the world and believes that there are reasons to answer such. Exactly. So again, if you want me to prove God's if you want me to prove God's existence metaphysically, yes, I agree that the PSR is a metaphysical concept. But again, it applies to even physical things. Why do you not understand that? I'm asking you, do you deny the PSR or not? If you deny the PSR, if you deny the PSR, then live your stupid physics, because physics doesn't deny it. For one. For two, if you don't deny the PSR, if you don't deny the PSR, I can demonstrate my God's existence necessarily.
Okay, so I'm just going to steal man your argument. Let me just steal man his argument because he has a script, right? So he just gets terrified.
I don't have a script.
I mean, this is
what I'm going to do. I'll accept that the PSR is real, okay?
Okay, so you accept the PSR?
Sure.
Okay,
this argument.
Okay, great. What's the principle? No, for the sake of the argument, do you believe in it or not?
I can't go into it because I'm only interested in going into whether God exists or not.
That's the point. I'm going to lead up to there.
Okay, so give me your little script about why you think you can prove God exists physically. Go.
I don't think he exists physically. I already said that.
You said you can prove he exists physically.
No, I didn't.
No, he's saying he has like physical, like sort of, he has causal powers in the physical domain. That doesn't mean that God himself is corrected.
But his physical powers in the physical domain are like measurable and like he interacts with the physical world. That's what you're saying.
Yes, I'm saying we can see God's existence through our five senses. Is what I'm saying.
Okay, demonstrate that.
Okay, so what's the principle of sufficient reason for our existence?
I don't know.
Oh wait, but I thought physics explains everything, right? So this is where metaphysics comes in, don't you think?
No, this is a fundamental misunderstanding of you. Where when I say I don't know,
this is retarded, dude.
You think that's like a problem.
This is a problem.
Perfectly fine.
No, because we don't know. That's the point.
So, are you uncomfortable with uncertainty? Because that's the vibe I'm getting.
No, I'm okay with mystery, for one, as long as there's no rational explanation for it. However, we do have one. So yes, I am uncomfortable when you say it's a mystery when it's really not.
Yeah. So, I mean, when I'm faced with like the overwhelming vastness and complexity of the universe, I feel kind of like small and humble, and I feel like I'm very unsure. Whereas you seem to be jumping to a conclusion and saying, "Oh yeah, we know God exists."
Because I study logic. I want to be a metaphysician and a logic.
Oh my God, I'm so disappointed.
He present.
Yeah, like that's the one that I said. When you correctly translate it, it's in fact the universalist verse. So what it says in Greek, it uses like a weird construct.
Pizza with banana. Ooh, pizza with
pizza with ananas.
It's not pizza Hawaii, it's pizza Somalia.
Pizza with mana?
How many children? I want to go 2 kids. Alright.
our kids in. Because he was saying,
second issue of the word punishment, and there's like
I'll get to other physicists by his ideas that he's not completely out of the field. Einstein did say that.
and that's part of his argument. If that's true and he's not conspiratorial, then that would be in favor of his saying that there's sort of this community that's acting like police.
Existence or moving it into motion. Give me one thing in reality. Go ahead. Since you love the five senses so much, give me one thing.
Again, these are open questions in physics. The reason they're open questions is because the universe itself, when it gets to like extremely like unusual arrangements of matter and energy, like the start of our universe or quantum fields or quantum sizes, it might behave in ways that are completely different from our known laws of physics. That's not contradictory. That just means we currently don't understand fully the laws of physics.
How would you want me to continue a debate when you haven't studied other fields of science but physics?
I have studied other fields of science but physics.
Hi, moderators. This is a one-on-one debate. Abe seems to know everything.
This is a one-on-one debate, yes.
What about me?
Well, a 1.5 debate.
Abe, what's it like having the burden of having so much knowledge? You seem to have such a high IQ. What a genius, Abe. Bravo, sir. Bravo, young man.
Let's get back on topic. So FL.
It's something about the PSR though. Just like it just seems like to me it seems like the reason you think the PSR is true. Like so far what you've been moved to the sort of inductive argument, right? Like, and I think that's all very well, but like I don't know. To me it seems like to show that to argue from the sort of data that like all the science is on like a principle where like we're finding explanations, right, for like a set of
One viewer. What
explanations
happened to the thousands
like,
of viewers?
really it doesn't license you to like sort of go outside that inductive base, right? To say that, well, look, I mean, for everything that's physical, it just seems like some kind of PSR holds, right? And that's why science is productive. But that doesn't mean like once you're outside the physical realm, like anything like a PSR has to hold, right? Like there could be like there are other things. There's other kinds of grounding. There's like weak PSRs, and so I don't know. That seems like you need like a different kind of motivation to believe in the PSR than the fact that like science requires it.
Yes. And not only that, FL, how the hell do you even get to like, even if the PSR is real, how do you get to like a God exists from there? And not only that, how do you get from like that it's not just like a deistic God that like started the universe and abandoned it versus a theistic God? And then even furthermore, how do you get that the theistic God is not just Allah, but it's actually like the Christian God and it's the Trinity and then it's Jesus? Like you're jumping to so many conclusions. We just gotta hit the brakes, bro, and like take it one at a time. But yeah, you're done talking. Okay.
Yeah, I want to talk about Aristotle because that was raised previously by Rai.
What would Aristotle's opinion be on the PSR?
I'm not sure, but the thing about Aristotle, like, he thought that the Earth was at the center of the universe. He thought that every object's full of faster than light objects.
Did he pronounce it Earth or Earth? And did you know the truth of the math of the Earth?
Wait, again, Michael, I never said that Aristotle like knew everything. I actually said he didn't. I said that him not knowing everything doesn't negate that he still made a claim about the principle that's.
I think Aristotle, it was one of the Greek philosophers, they literally made a claim that like women have less teeth than men. And like that was a pretty fucking easy one to figure out because you could just count the teeth and he didn't even do that. He just like philosophized saying, oh, women have less teeth.
Yeah, I don't know anything. I don't know anything about all my opinion. Nor do I really care. Does that have any relevance to it?
Well, it just shows how good he was. He wasn't doing science. He was just talking out of his ass.
Yeah, Aristotle wasn't stupid. I've read Aristotle. It's pretty intelligent.
No, I'm not saying he was stupid. Just based on one statement.
The man who's never read Aristotle was calling Aristotle stupid.
Well, that's just projection. Maybe he's not as intelligent as he thinks he is.
What is stupid though is that you can't say like you have less teeth. You gotta say you have fewer teeth.
Yeah, so man, again, you can't call Aristotle stupid when you haven't like read anything about him.
Look, at the end of the day, we didn't even get to like God or homosexuality.
Oh my God! Like I had nobody to talk with. Am I like that horrible person? Actually, it turns out people are like practicing Shabbos. Shabbos is really like people doing things during this critical hour of the day on a Friday.
Eric's wife or something, and then Eric said, "Okay, well, let me say something about your mom," and just kind of show that maybe there's a little bit of something else going on here, which is what I'm talking about. That's, I think, what that showed. But back to
Lagrith, where's the party at tonight?
I don't know why you're missing me. I don't know. You show me, man. You show me. That same guy.
It's that same guy. It's that low IQ guy who bothers everybody.
there's a lot of other people who aren't where Weinstein who are making this critique happen for quite some time. And that perhaps what Weinstein is just doing is because he's got this position, right or wrong, crank or crackpot, he's using it and clubbing back with it. So he's being a voice for perhaps those people who.
After that, she left. She was allowed to leave. Or she went on her own. It was either one of those situations, but she left the building. She decided to come back to him that night.
Pause.
It has to be off, yes.
Okay, hold on. Pause. Just don't jump like that, okay? What we said was there has to be a cause that wasn't caused by anything else, okay?
Yes.
Why are we calling that God, right? You're just like literally shoehorning your God in at the first point you can.
Not our God. You can just give, it's just a name we give this uncaused cause. You can
Exactly. Don't do that. Exactly. But that's confusing, right?
Okay, just take it away.
Very scientific, right?
But ultimately, we
have evidence for using the PSR.
This is Bhagavad Gita chanting. I think I'm just going to become a Hindu because I don't want to talk to people in English anymore. He became a Hindu. Why? Because he had every conversation in the English language 100,000 times. So he abandoned English and picked up Sanskrit. Oh, there's no other rooms.
अक्षरपदभ्रष्टं मात्राहीनं तु यत् भवेत् तत्सर्वं क्षम्यतां माता गीतादेवी नमोऽस्तुते विसर्गबिन्दुमात्राणि पदपादाक्षराणि च न्यूनानि चातिरिक्तानि क्षमस्व पुरुषोत्तम क्षमस्व परमेश्वर कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि श्रीमन्नारायणायेति समर्पयामि प्रार्थना सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ अच्युताय नमः ॐ अनन्ताय नमः ॐ गोविन्दाय नमः ॐ अच्युताय नमः ॐ अनन्ताय नमः ॐ गोविन्दाय नमः ॐ अच्युतानन्त गोविन्दाय नमो नारायणाय नमः ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः सर्वं श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं जय श्रीकृष्ण थैंक यू श्रद्धाजी थैंक यू श्रद्धाजी थैंक यू एवरीवन just conclude the room please join with Jai Goshri count of 3 2 1 नमस्ते वासुदेवाय प्रेयसां मे प्रियोत्तमा समस्त गुण संपूर्ण निर्दोषानन्ददायिने मुकोऽपि यत्प्रसादेन मुकुन्द शयनायते राजराजायते रिक्तो राघवेन्द्रं तमाश्रये Have a beautiful day everyone. Thank you Sethati for the opportunity. Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Vande Mataram.
Jai Shri Krishna. Jai Shri Ram. Har Har Mahadev. Vande Mataram. Jai Shri Krishna.
Hey, all you racist motherfuckers! I'm the only white person in here. What's up with your racist ass troll title?
Sabrina nominates the white variety of the teenage wigs. Will start the bidding at 0.5 cents.
Bitch, you ain't gonna raise enough to get a Snicker bar. Anybody drinking any Hennessy and Courvoisier tonight? Hello?
Donovan, yeah, Bryce Donovan. Looking at like Bryce Donovan. Okay, I can use Bryce as like security. He looks like he has a mean face.
This is some racist ass shit. You auctioning off white people? You racist motherfuckers. I'm reporting you to the NAACP. Southern Poverty Law Crime Center. You're all fucked.
And when you report it,
I'm submitting your database to Palantir. I'm gonna have y'all audited.
Hey, shout out to Rachel Dolezal, okay? When you go up there, tell her we said what's up. So Bryce is next on the list. Let me see. Bryce, he looks like he can work security, so I'll start my bidding at Bryce $4.
$1.01.
I'll do 2.
$2 go once, going twice.
$2.01.
$2 1 penny go once, going twice. $3.25.
$3.26.
$3.26 go once.
Let's be on his ass.
Okay, he can get them for $3.20.
Sold to the highest wigger.
You're going home with your master. Thank you.
All right, next to sell is Dami.
No, next to sell is the person that's on stage.
Dami is like, you have to say
Comedian, comedy is next to sell.
Welcome back to another episode of Low IQ Spam. People talking about nothing on a Friday night, auctioning off white people in Clown House. Pure racism and bigotry at its finest. Sick, deranged.
He needs to get out of here. He needs to go home.
I want to.
He needs to go home.
Anybody own debt? Any debt owners in here?
He needs to go home with someone right now.
You should pick him up and clear your debt right now.
He wants to buy him.
Yeah, you can clear off your debt. Whatever your debt is.
There's only two types of people in this world: those who forgive debt and those who don't forgive debt.
He thinks too much for me. I don't like that. He doesn't
He thinks too much.
He doesn't know how to cement. Cement! He doesn't know.
He doesn't have to submit.
This is giving me PTSD from the slave auction building.
You guys are crazy. Sabella was never a part of that. But regardless of the fact, that's fine. Anyways, I'm gonna put a bid out for Richard. He looks like he's gonna make me a lot of money when it comes to his model career. So I'm saying $100. He's gonna buy that. Oh, so he's giving you bitches
$100.01. I'll free this motherfucker from you, you slave master bitch. They kicked me.
It's in reparations. You can fight for it. But when you get it, oh my God, I don't think you know. Some people say, in the UK and Europe,
we can't king, right? But he is a spiritual king, right? His kingdom wasn't a literal kingdom; it was a spiritual kingdom. I mean, Christ, like I could say that. Roivus could say that. Christ, like Roivus's kingdom is a spiritual kingdom of weed and black metal. Like anybody could say that. That I'll fulfill those prophecies later, right? I'll do it later, right? Believe me now, and I'll fulfill all those prophecies, like later after I.
Yeah, except I think the Jesus spiritual king angle makes sense because it's about various social reformist and ethical values that he preaches that are present in the Old Testament, especially in the descriptions of the future kingdom and how that's going to look like. But yeah, so I think that'd be the difference between someone else randomly today saying, "Oh, I am the Messiah because I proclaim a spiritual kingdom of weed or something." But on the previous thing, I would say there's no confirmation. That's my thing why I would defend Joseph Smith, because I think not only is that there no confirmation of those claims, I think the opposite is true, and that we can see that when we know more details about his life, that he was actually not a fraud at all. He was a true believer and an honest guy.
He was 100% a fraud. I'm sorry. This guy, it's kind of a fool's errand to defend this guy. Did you hear that? Did you ever hear the story about how? So he used to have he supposedly found these golden plates, right, that had Egyptian, Reformed Egyptian, some weird text that no scholar had ever heard of ever. And he had these seer stones that he could use to decipher the text. And he would put his face into his hat
and like miraculously be able to see these like translations of these stones, right? And then somebody at some point like basically stole and destroyed one of the translations and was like, all right, do it again. If it's consistent, you'll be able to do it again. And he was like, well, God doesn't want me to do it again. Right? Like basically like no, there is no doing it again, because he basically knew he'd been caught, right? Like if you're gonna translate something, if it's a true translation stone, a magic stone that lets you translate something, the translation should be the same every time. You know, and you shouldn't be afraid to translate it a second time. If anything, that would prove that the translation the first time was correct. But the fact that the first translation got destroyed, he was like, no, I'm not going to translate it again, to me is like the ultimate confirmation that this guy was just making shit up. I mean, it's really hard to interpret it any other way.
That doesn't make sense to me at all. Like, I don't see any difficulty in interpreting it. In fact, I see a difficulty, like, I would jump to such conclusions.
So Zeleny, if I have a text,
Zeleny, hold on. And like he said, when these parts of translation is like destroyed, I don't want to translate again. How does that prove that he's a fraud? He just didn't want to translate it.
So Zeleny, if I have a text, so if I tell you that I can read Russian, right? I tell you I can read Russian. And somebody gives me a Russian text, tells me to translate that text, but nobody else knows Russian, right? And I give you a translation. Some people around me have doubts. So like,
unfortunately, they blocked all my accounts, so I can't pipe them into this room. But this is a fake Free Palestine Anonymous room to see how many people come in here paranoid that somebody's recording them. So it's like it's a trap room.
Okay, if you can read Russian, you have the same text, translate it again. And then we'll compare the two texts and see if your translation was the same. And you suddenly say, well, I don't want to translate it.
Yeah, I'm sick of spending all the money.
My God told me not to translate it again.
Got enough phones, for God's sakes.
Highly
I'm just so fucking blocked. I can't get into the... Buy one more, make it 155. Enough is enough. It's a me problem at this point, buddy. It's not a them problem. It has become a me problem.
There might be like some slight differences, but that's the same translation. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to translate it.
Why don't you create a burner account?
Tell me with everybody in the room.
Why don't you create it?
I need another phone for that.
Just get the Motorola.
The first.
I think I have
$50.
an extra phone somewhere. See if I can get it. See if I can use it.
If you can get like one of those, create a cell phone for text type of apps or whatever, or even Google Voice, you can create the account off of that. So you don't have to
but the thing is, I have to log out of my account on this phone, and then I have the numbers for real, but yeah, I don't know. I could do that. Yeah, doesn't matter.
Well, I know it's just fun to make them paranoid, and then they'll blame me if you do it. Like clone my account and just like troll them with my account.
With your picture?
Yeah. Go in there with a picture and then put in the chat, someone's recording this room and putting it on YouTube.
They'll kick me out right away. Oh man.
It's just a mind virus. You just have to inject it once, it like rattles the nest. All the fucking bees.
I was in there earlier, just myself as an honest account, and I was doing like idiot emoji or gifs and stuff like that. Like says idiot and all this. And they're like, oh, it's that admin guy, he's recording the room again. And they couldn't do shit about it. Like that was the funniest part. That's why I messaged you when it happened. That was fucking hilarious. They were talking about it for like 5 minutes.
I did not know that you could do GIFs as anonymous.
Oh yeah, that's what I do the most. I just troll with it the whole time, the gifs and the emojis, and I'm telling you, I've already had multiple rooms where they were so triggered by it. It's fucking hilarious. Sometimes I'll go into Shuki's room and I just start doing like Palestine gifs to piss them off on purpose, just to get a laugh out of it. It's so funny, bro. It's the most troll thing that they could have added to this app.
Give up its soul for the cause. You get what I'm saying?
And it could be very calming.
Black Clown House is like its own fucking world.
That shit's definitely its own world.
What you saying sound like some shit that third world country or you know what I'm saying? Or I don't know. Because listen, all the Haitians did magic on the white folk. We call it voodoo, whatever the fuck do. But
This room is called Are People That Practice Witchcraft / Magic Detriment to Society in the Non-Believer's House.
Absolutely. If we actually look at the origin of what magic is, and having an authoritative power to alter things. And it's great that
Where did this incredible knowledge come from? What books do you people read? I gotta find out quickly.
Hold on, comedian. So it's based on alchemy and the stages of alchemy. And if you understand, because when I break
turning
it down,
poop into gold.
When I break it down to layman's terms, hold on, I'm moving.
She moved.
What's going on is energy working. You know, if we put it in layman's terms. But alchemy does go through different stages. You have distillation and all this other shit that goes into it.
This is a karaoke room. Hey Jacob, I'm in Lakeview, man. Let's do some karaoke and get a beer. Hey Jacob.
Let's make some noise for Jacob.
Hey Jacob, I'm in Lakeview, man. Let's get a beer and do some karaoke.
Get out of here, psycho. Work for singing.
But I'm in Lakeview, man. Let's do karaoke in the real world. Let's get a beer, Jacob. I'd like to sing the 1939 Frank Sinatra remastered Chicago. A one, a two, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Bet your bottom dollar you'll lose the blues in Chicago, Chicago, the town that Billy Sunday could not shut down. On State Street, that great street, I just want to say they do things that they never do on Broadway. Say they have the time of their life. I saw a man and he danced with his wife in Chicago, Chicago, my hometown.
You earned your spot up there. All right. How you doing, my friend?
I'm great. I'm in Lakeview. Let's get a beer.
Today, tomorrow, when? Come on. You're picking my balls up. But you name a place to talk, you know what I mean? You know how to get in touch with me. You're one of my roads. You're a good guy. That was great, huh? Wow, thank you so much.
Whose turn is now? Lieutenant? The lab? Yes, my turn. Thank you.
The loss of the 116 pages.
I don't know what that says. Like you made a
Pretty clear.
you made a leading.
Do you want me to read it again? It was a very.
She's singing to you, Harry. The name of this song is called Harry. I'm serious. Yeah. Harry. You hear this shit? This is a Harry song. Like Conchana. There's a Chinaman like this at my park. Every day he sits there and blasts his fucking song. He sings it like on his speaker karaoke. It's so crazy. I want to just go there and like film him one day, and he'll probably like just start like singing, you know, and my videos will go viral. It's so crazy. I'm like, should I call ICE and like have him picked up or something?
He's probably American, honestly. Most of the Chinese are.
I know. I said to the girl, this hot chick at the park, I was like, so what's your go-to karaoke song? That's like a good pickup line because it makes you think. Any kind of introduction statement that makes somebody have to think is a good way to start a conversation.
The person before was singing a song about fellas, though.
Were they?
Yeah, they said fellas easy or something, fellas down or something. They said in the lyrics, I heard it.
Alright, this is the mathematics. Oh man, I'm about to like hop in a hot bath. I'm trying to find like the perfect room to like set it and forget it. Yeah, there's nothing. Shabbos really kicks in hard. Wow.
Yeah, it does.
Man. Game night. This room is called Game Night, featuring the Snakes with Blow Money. Blow Money P.
Say Jeff.
Yo, what's up with that smoke detector? I'm wondering, can black people detect where they left their phone or keys with the smoke detector beeping? Hello? It's like black sonar detector radiation systems that you can detect where something went missing with the smoke detector. All you gotta do is take that 9-volt battery or 2 double A's and replace them dead batteries with new batteries. Then, but I'm just wondering, like, is there something secret about the beeping? Is it like echolocation, radar technology for finding shit you misplaced? Hello? 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 Say hello to my little friend, my bell. Hello? I think they kicked me a while back.
I'm not limited to any identity or whatever you talking.
This is the infinite one. Who is the beginning and whose ending is endless?
I'm not in no systems at all.
Hello?
I'm
Who is the beginning and whose ending is endless? Hello?
hello, how you doing, comedian? Let me get you on up out of here.
So that answers Dave's question.
This room is called Is Drake a Culture Vulture? Tory?
What are we doing?
Oh, that shit's so funny.
I just closed that and came back in. You answer my question.
It's like, what else do they use it for? It must be like black technology, right? Black audio technology. It's like black dolphin technology sonar.
So I just had to close out. That ain't proven. Talking about that. Proven is they say it's a get the fuck out of here.
Hello? Hello? I basically have to restart the fucking app all the time.
Fun begins once you get past and you feel secure that no one's going anywhere, then you finally get to be in truth in a relationship.
Hello?
And that's when it's fun.
Hi, I gotta go take a girl out and pay for her dinner and then go back home all alone. Is that the type of subscription model you selling?
So I have sons, so I tell my sons, learn all the parks in the community because time.
You kidding me? Hello? Is Brain Rot has set in here? Hello?
So before that, this is the part that's absurd, right? He did not retranslate the material that Harris had lost because he said that if he did, evil men would alter the manuscript in an effort to.
Well, again, there's 14 minutes left of this Sean Carroll with.
Hey, man.
Hello? Harriet had a shotgun. Malcolm had a knife. Who would they aim at? Hello?
Oh, you got a song pad, you gotta go.
Hello? Has Brain Rot set in here? Hello? Anyone home? Hello?
What you want, bitch? What do you want, please?
Hello?
We hear you, bitch.
I'm just asking a question. If Harriet had a shotgun and Malcolm had a knife, who would they aim at?
Harriet would definitely shoot you in the chest.
With a shotgun?
Yeah, because you need to change your firearm. God damn, man. All that fucking beeping.
That's my smoke detector system. It detects bullshit now. I upgraded the audio technology. Wasting time is when it goes off most.
Have a good day. Have a good day.
Hello?
Have a good right.
Hello?
You gotta go, come on.
We're really.
But no, he had started some bullshit.
Hello? Anybody got a Hennessy? A Courvoisier. A little Patron on the rocks with a twist of lemon. Hello? Anybody home?
Shut your bitch ass up, bro.
Bro, I heard that bit like the late 2000s.
Bro, you a garbage ass comedian. You know that?
They call me Dr. Trash. I came to make you angry, to kick me. My game is I need you to kick me. Kick it. Let's kick it. Let's kick it and get into flow. Hello?
You say what?
So I ain't messing with you no more, bro.
What?
Huh?
But I like it. My team is amazing. My boss, she's really good and stuff. So, but it's not too bad. It is like, I know, like when August, September come, you have the new, kids coming in and stuff. So, it's going to be a lot of paperwork, making calls and stuff like that. But,
Okay, am I allowed in the room now, or Lisa, what the fuck happened last time I was here?
excuse me?
Hello, A, or I.
It's Auntie.
What was it?
I forgot.
Hi, my little pumpkin. Are you causing problems everywhere you go, my little pumpkin?
No, I'm being good today.
Hello? Oh, that's my smoke detector. It detects bullshit. Time wasters. Hello? Spam detected. Spam detection system.
Get you some batteries.
The spam detector is going off. It's like sonar. Where my keys at? Where's my phone at? Where's my shoes at? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
I'm going to put you in the Google next.
Where's my car at? I had too much Hennessy. Too much Courvoisier. I forgot where I parked at. Hello?
That noise is getting on my nerves.
I'm just asking a question. Anybody seen my phone?
Who's dropping him, bro? Me. Thank you.
My fault. Nah, this nigga funny though.
I know, but he got the thing ringing and it's ringing in my ear. Like,
Maybe he should come back later.
Oh, you're a comedian? Comedian comedy. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cause any migraines or blood clot. I'm just saying hello. Happy Friday, y'all. Anybody see my phone? Oh, there's my phone. My keys, where they at? Oh, I found them.
Yo, comedy, bro. I'm finna put on my Trump hat right quick, bro.
Yeah, let's go. Put that red hat on.
Oh, this must be your friend, MBK.
Let's take Canada, Nicaragua.
Look. No, I just know him off the alley. She get removed out of every room.
That's right, I'm the most kicked person, over 65,000 kicks and growing. But now Anonymous allows me to go in any room I want and record whatever moron terrorists I can. They're everywhere. Wasting time, spamming you, hypnotizing you, sucking your very life essence out of your body, wasting your life. Hello?
Taking medication today? Because it sounds like you...
Yeah, Hennessy, Courvoisier, and a little indica in a bowl with some strawberries and some cheddar cheese omelet with American cheese now. I don't want to wait in line for the cheddar. Cheddar's better, but American cheese is American.
Something else?
Yeah, take the deepest breath of the day and I'll teach you the truth of the earth and the math you need to succeed. Hello?
Where is your staff? Because I know you live in a group home.
What is my status? between my legs. It's always
No,
a
I
red.
say your
It's a
staff. I
phallus.
say your staff.
Pure energy.
Actually,
Ultimate metaphysics. Where my phone go?
Where's your staff at?
Where my phone? Oh, let me find out where my staff at.
Yeah.
Ah, there it
What
is.
time is it? You had your med yet? Your 8
Oh,
o'clock
yeah.
night med?
Time for a hot bath and some medication.
On the med call. Come and get your Prozac, your Adderall.
Time to eat your medication. Time to have Pfizer for dessert. Moderna appetizers. J&J entrees. Triple vaccinated, quadruple boosted, and my heart only popped twice. It's called the clot shot. It's called the clot shot. MK, where's your Trump hat at? We need to start this party.
It sounds like you constipated, like you need to take a shit.
Are you projecting? Did you have too much to eat for dinner tonight?
No, I'm telling you, that's what you sound like.
Are you a regular 8 a.m. shitter? Do you take the Cosby kids to the beach every day at 8 a.m.?
Fuck them kids.
You're projecting.
Fuck them kids and fuck you too. How about that? Now write a book about it. Fucker.
You forgot mother.
No, I call
2 tears and a bucket, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
This is Friendly Fridays, everybody. We're here to spam you with comedy to make you feel good in your tuchus, to tickle a feather on your
I
anus.
need to laugh though. You make me laugh. I ain't laughing.
Why is sex like a box of Kentucky Fried Chicken? Because after you're done with that breast and the thigh, the only thing left to do is stick your bone back in that greasy box. Hello? Juicing. I'm juicing. We just started to get cooking. We're cooking and we just started cooking. Nita knows how to juice. She like black man. Nita's a juicer. Nita, are you in love with a Nita?
Go in. Yo.
Who's the anonymous? Who is the Anon? Clubhouse Anonymous.
That's you.
I'm addicted to Clubhouse, so they created an anonymous version for me. Now I just troll under a fake name. Anonymous.
That's you recorded.
That's not me. That's somebody else.
You can suck my dick.
You got a dick? You sure it's not an enlarged clitoris? Or is he so fat? Is it a roll on your fupa? That's fat. You can get that fat removed with a plastic surgery.
You can suck my dick with your daddy lips.
Oh, you a dirty ratchet ass ghetto hoe. The fuck kind of shit is that? You dirty ass bitch. That's some tricky shit. How long you been out on the block in them high heels?
Shut your bitch ass up.
Look at Nita. Nita knows. Nita been working them fucking tarot card streets hard in cocktail dress. Drinking a Hennessy and a Guazi. Hello? All right, well, I hope you enjoyed my comedy show. I hope you have fun, but I can't do this all night long. I'm getting tired.
Auntie, tell Matada it's not funny.
Oh my God, it's Zach. How are you, Zach?
Doing good. How about you?
What's going on? How's the Price is Right treating you every day at 11 a.m. CST?
It's doing great.
What's your favorite part of Price is Right? Is it the big wheel or the showcase showdown?
It might be the big wheel.
Yeah, I gotta say the big wheel's pretty cool. Don't step outside your wheelhouse.
Absolutely. I'm down as a girl.
All right, well, I had a lot of fun here. I hope you have fun. Oh my God, look at Anon. Look at Anon doing the presents right down there with Patrick, whatever, fucking that crazy LGBTQ guy. What's that guy's name? Dr. Doogie Howser. Fucking that fucking guy. Damn, Doogie Howser tricked everybody. That's how you know the medical industrial complex is gang. God. They tricked us with Doogie Howser. They raised some fucking young. They raised him. Oh God, I don't even want to think about it. But you know what I'm talking about. Doogie Howser. He pulled a fast one on everybody. Fuck it, Doogie Howser. That was the end of America. All right, everybody, my show is over. Leave a $10 tip in the tip jar before you leave, and you get an extra old-fashioned with some maraschino cherries.
Brother, can I finish? Let me just finish.
Hey, DJ Pooh on that subway, I'm gonna pack you up and put you in my sandwich and cut up the fucking salami, cut up the motherfucking turkey, cut up the motherfucking tomatoes and the lettuce and the jalapenos and put some mayo and some fucking cream and mayo and smash that tomato fucking put that motherfucking sandwich in the motherfucking toaster oven and cook you up like a barbecue and take some barbecue sauce, dinner sauce, and some ranch sauce and motherfucking Diet Coke and eat you up and put you on YouTube, make $1 million, and then you're gonna get on Netflix, and then we're gonna buy a house in the Hollywood Hills, have a big old bank account with $100 million, and then we're gonna meet Kanye West.
Damn, they going in. The comedian.
That's what I call the DJ Pooh sandwich.
That's what's the name? I forgot his name. That's Oscar funny.
Yeah.
Mother ass in his face on holding a bunch of them one things.
Yeah, add me in.
You want me to add you?
Yeah.
You really want me to add you?
Hell yeah, get some hoes.
Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna add you.
All right, well, I hope you enjoyed my comedy show. Have a great Friday night, everybody. You can go to Give, Send, Go or cash at me $100,000 right now. Thank you very little. We'll call you. Don't call us. Hello? They're on a motherfucking conference call. These motherfuckers. Motherfuckers, they're fucking on a motherfucking conference call. Fuck. This is some fucking repugnant shit. I'm all alone. They're on a conference call. Barbiana, what is this bullshit they pulling? I ain't mad. I'm just asking a question. Why the fuck is they on a conference call while we in the room giving them the content? Hello?
It's like, okay, when a woman does wipe the makeup off, and you see what she truly looks like, it's a jump scare. Ooh, right? So y'all can kind of.
That's called a clown effect. If you got so much makeup on and you take it off, that means it's like painting a picture.
Some bitches that cute, right? That's no automatically cute. So I think y'all pick and choose.
A pretty woman is pretty regardless whether she wearing makeup or she doesn't wear makeup. If as soon as she wipe that makeup off, your man think you're ugly. I mean, you're just ugly. Like, what's going on?
That's right. We'll take her to the swimming pool. First date is the swimming pool. You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead. Get in a relationship with somebody.
These dudes, man.
One mic off Flanders.
Yeah, thank you.
This police officer is afraid of height.
hollering out in the Caribbean. You know why Black Americans act like they so fucking special. You know what I'm saying? So now, last time I checked, hold on. I'm be done. Last time I checked, hold on.
You ain't got no fighting.
I'm about to beat up. Relax. Let me finish.
Take this. What the hell do you? Wait, hold on.
Some racist ass shit. Take lots of that dirty Jew-head rap from the room.
Hey, Mila.
This room sucks.
He don't give y'all the same liberty he trying to ask for right now. He want to be free to speak, unfettered. He don't want nobody coming off their mic while he talking. I know he don't give y'all that liberty, but could y'all please treat him the way?
You should be timed. That was a troll question. I was just kidding. You should be timed to train.
Oh, thank God. Can I interject really quick?
You should know. You can.
Hang on. Sam, can you invite Jason? I don't know.
I did invite him up, so I don't know. You can invite him up.
I think you might have to hit your profile and do the accept speaker invite on your profile.
Okay, what do we think about the culture wars? Are they good or bad? And also, who's right?
Well, I wanted to bring up something about wokeness. You guys brought me up, so I just want to point out that wokeness is like when you guys talk about woke, that's like the right conservative bullshit made up woke. Woke is a black slang term. It means awareness to injustice, specifically racial. It's not LGBT, it's not feminism, it's not trans. It's being aware of the system. So like when you guys use it, just remember where it comes from.
Yeah, there's just two different uses of woke. There's the woke as it's used in today's parlance and the original usage. In the same way that bad used to mean bad sort of fatal in Old English, which means hermaphrodite, but no one thinks that bad means hermaphrodites.
Yeah, but do you see how that's problematic? Because black people all the time talk about gentrification, and you guys literally do that with our slang. You see what I'm saying? It's like it's problematic. It's like just come up with something else. You don't have to attach it to a completely different movement that it has no bearing on.
Listen, it would be nice if we should be able to totally de novo word, but now the word is what it is, and it's really slithery and annoying when you try to label people who are trying to harm you, and then they try to sort of gaslight you that oh, you can't talk about us that way, don't notice us, we don't exist. Imagine if Christians were I'm hey, Christians have been persecuting gays in this country. It's what is a Christian? And I'm well, actually, there's just people who follow Christ. There's people who love Jesus. There's no Christianity. What are you talking about, Sam? I'd be shut the fuck up. I'm going to call you Christians. I don't give a fuck about how you want to be labeled. I get to label my enemies how, if you're harming me, I get to label you. Suck my dick.
There's two emerging communities of speakers, right? We use the term woke in these different ways, one with the narrower usage and one with the larger one. And then, it could plausibly be the case that when someone says I hate wokeness, wokeness sucks, right?
Maybe stretching of a composite bow.
Or let's say you just made an argument, you convince people that wokeness sucks. And then they go around and they're okay, here's a bunch of people who are saying that wokeness is good, I'm woke, blah, blah, blah. They're those people suck, right? So, I don't know. So, I don't know what the solution to that is. All these words have been evolved in the meaning, but
that's the whole point I'm trying to say is woke has to do with injustice in the system. And gentrification would be a part of it. And the word has literally been gentrified. That's the whole point of being woke, is to be aware of shit like that. And then it gets stamped over and essentially gentrified. So it's I get that people can steal words and kind of bullshit and kind of house music and a whole bunch of shit that has been stolen from black people. But you gotta just go, okay, you know what, you're right. This is the truth. It has been bastardized. And this is the version we refer to. But again, it has nothing to do, true wokeness has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with LGBT. Honestly, if you're woke, ironically, if you're a woke black person, you're actually more anti-LGBT and more right-leaning as far as values is concerned. Ironically.
That's a bizarre statement to me.
That's actually something. Yeah, you have more to do if you think that the conscious community
conscious community is more associated with that. But again, so
you're conscious of injustice, but only when it applies to your particular quote unquote oppressed group. But you don't recognize oppression in other groups as being valid either.
So you didn't listen to what I said. I said specifically racial.
I'm asking you a question.
Yeah. So gotcha.
It's just an answer to my question without the meta.
So I'm gonna so I already answered specifically racial. But the conscious community does have a branch of people, but I don't expect you to understand that, right? And that's the whole thing about being woke. It's more esoteric than every fucking blue-haired white girl.
That doesn't answer my question at all.
If I said I already pointed out what it is.
Okay, so what you're missing out, Johnny, what you're missing out is he's saying, why is it ethical to only care about the injustice about your own group? Shouldn't one just care about justice generally? Is there something evil about saying only my group's justice matters? That is what he's asking.
I think injustice should matter, yes, but again, if you have, that's why there's different definitions for different things, right? I'm not saying anything is right or wrong. I'm pointing out this is what it is. And ironically, in the conscious community, granted there is a spectrum, but there are plenty of them that are very pro-black. There are plenty of them that are like, we're not really for the LGBT, we're for pro-family, which again, is generally more associated with conservative values. Yes, there are some that are more left-leaning, but again, the core of it is pro-family and pro-black people organizing, right? And it's being aware of what happens within the system. I don't know what else to say beyond that, right? Like, you can have different words for it. You see what I'm saying?
So I was going to ask me whether or not wokeness, like, what's good about wokeness? Listen, gay marriage, that's arguably woke. Being kind to trans people, it's arguably woke. Caring more about not raping on the margin, that's like woke. Those are all good things. But here's what's not good. Extreme sanctimony, tabooing empirical claims, giving like white people original sin that they like need to be humiliated about. Not enjoying debate, having dogma, those things are terrible, and I hate that. And it is characteristic of wokeness.
Wait, hold on, Stan. You don't think this is I always find this strange coming from Jews. You don't think there needs to be a full mea culpa, like what the Germans did to you guys? There was a full mea culpa. You don't think white people need to do that to black people? Are you insane?
No, Jesus Christ. To me, this
Well, I think that white people do need to acknowledge what was slavery is horrible. And when I think about owning another human being, it's it's almost hard for me to imagine me just bossing someone around as if assuming that I can just do that to another person feels alien to me, and it is deeply evil. But there is some things that are different about the Nazi situation from the slavery one, which is what
Don't do that weird thing.
So one is that there's a fucking huge amount of white people who died in America to free the slaves. That's one asymmetry. The second asymmetry is the fact that slavery was normal historically, throughout all of history, and people try to downplay Roman slavery and other kinds of slavery, and try to say that the antebellum South was uniquely evil compared to Roman slavery. But I just don't think that being a slave in the salt mines of Carthage was much better than being someone taking cotton in the South.
This is literally minimizing. Basically what you're doing right now is this is Holocaust analysis. Basically you're trying to minimize what happened in American slavery, the responsibility of American whites. Can I do the same thing with Nazis did? Can I just minimize what Nazis did, Jews did? You're going to do that. What happened to blacks? Let me do the same thing. Can I do that?
Are you disagreeing that?
I disagree with everything.
Are you saying that being a slave in the South is better than enslavement is, or that being a slave in the South is worse? Which way are you disagreeing with it?
In every single concept. So first of all, let me say something. Are you aware of breeding farms? You know what a breeding farm is? Yeah, I got that. So, for example, right?
You don't got it, bro. You gotta turn off the background noise, please.
Prince was joking about
discussing wokeness. I don't actually want.
Okay.
Well, now you got it.
Mark, be careful what you wish for when you're in a room called wokeness sucks and you ask about it. Like,
I do want to make a logical point though. Like, what's it in Dunning is kind of narrowly right. Like the term wokeness has its roots like far earlier than people kind of probably aware. Like the Wikipedia actually goes back to the 30s.
It comes from the black
70s kind of covered. Yeah, that's right. It came from the black community and only meant like awareness of like specifically racial discrimination, not with the kind of not with the connotation that no other discrimination matters, but the term only covered that particular kind of discrimination in the early 2010s and late 2000s. I think wokeness kind of meant like awareness of social injustice and discrimination in general. And now it has this kind of loosey-goosey, like everything that's bad about the left, DEI sucks, kind of.
Yeah, it's silly. It's silly. It's like, how do you just use it? It's like, it's bastardizing and it's gentrifying the word. And like, that's the whole point about being woke, like I said earlier. To be aware of bullshit. Like, yeah, hold on. It's just
really quick. I asked see how bad was it to be in a salt barn in Carthage, and it says you are likely to strip your identity, tortured daily by your environment, destined for a slow agonizing death. Few would escape, and fewer still would live long. It was the most dehumanizing, painful fates imaginable in the ancient world.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this like okay. I'm not
the same way, Sam. Being a Jew in Poland in 1941, right? I doubt anybody would ever choose that fate as well.
Wait, hold on. So this is what we mean by okay. Now I'm going to just start calling you guys out, because this is sounding very racist here. So you guys doing this comparison thing about what's better. First of all, I empirically said it wasn't. But however, that being said, I don't care about that argument. I care about one specific form of the argument. It's what you said about white people apologizing and being a part of the mea culpa, the word I use, in terms of the reckoning with black people. I'm saying this is an important part that needs to be done. You were denying that. Hold on, Tyler. So
how are any of us a part of this?
No, Tyler, because you
weren't even in this country.
This is some racist bullshit. But you want to do some comparison between Jews and black people in terms of saying which one is worse. I'm saying something very simple. White people need to do a full mea culpa to black people. Do you agree with this, Tyler, or not?
No, absolutely.
Yeah, you're a racist piece of shit. That's why.
No, I'm no way racist. I would argue the opposite, that you're the racist, because you have labeled all white people as somehow being responsible for the plight of slaves. When my ancestor, my family wasn't even in this country until one generation ago. We were nowhere near America. My family was in Eastern Europe being enslaved by those same Nazis that you're talking about. Like, I don't understand how I'm
Jews! Black Germans that you pay reparations to Jews. Was that fair to them?
Hold on.
Was that fair to them?
How are my answers?
Was it fair to black Germans? No, stop.
No.
Tyler, was it fair to black Germans?
How are my ancestors? You're yelling at me.
Yeah, you don't want to.
How are my ancestors responsible for the oppression of your ancestors?
It's the government.
What do I have to apologize for?
It's the government that's.
What do I have to apologize for?
Stop, Taylor. It's the government. Just like the Japanese people when they got reparations. I wasn't responsible for that. But guess what? Black people still had to pay. You want to know another thing? When the Italians got reparations, black people had to pay for that. I'm gonna tell you another thing. Black Germans had to pay reparations to you people because they paid into their taxes, even though they had nothing to do with it back. Jews got reparations when coming from Germany, and black Germans had to pay that they paid for the taxes. Are you retarded?
Is Tyler Jewish?
Even if he's not, regardless, I thought he was. He may be not. Regardless of the point. The point is this: Germans, black Germans, had to wait. No, stop. Stop. Was it fair?
But I'm the racist.
Stop. Was it fair that black Germans had to pay reparations to Jews? Yes or no?
If they were part of the oppression and enslavement and extermination,
they wasn't.
People, yeah.
But black Germans that came out.
Were they part of Nazi society?
This is retarded. No.
point is I think what he's trying to say is that they were part of, they were in the country, right? They were probably marginalized with no power, like they were at the receiving end of like Nazi domination, right? Because obviously the Nazis hated black people, right? Like Jesse Owens and stuff. So he's saying that despite that,
not as much as they hated other groups of people, but I guess.
But the point is that, like, the art, like, presumably, like the amount of reparations, the cost of reparations paid by black Germans was equivalent to the ones paid by like white Germans, right? We didn't reduce it in any way.
I guess I just don't understand how this relates back to me having to apologize for like all of white people for the fact that like black people were.
No, actually, we're talking about the government.
We're trying to make an argument.
We're talking about the government, Tyler. So here's the problem here, and this is the thing. So we obviously understand what happened in America, right? We understand the racism that happened, right? But what happens the entire time was constant gaslighting of the white populace in general. Oh, it's not that big. Oh, it's not really happening. Oh, what's this? And then the attacks that happened within the black communities. Oh, well, and then when we go, hey, we start to think that most white people, whatever they're racist or whatever, oh, well, you guys are just crazy. It's like, well, there was never a point in time where you guys understood collectively, like, hey, a lot of bullshit happened. I don't think it happened. Let's go ahead and work on that.
Right, so you became racist against white people.
No, that's literally nothing. I never said that. So what I never said that. I literally just said, let's focus on healing. So that is never truly.
I agree 100%. So how are we focusing on healing if I somehow have to apologize for things that my ancestors never did?
But we actually we didn't state you had to apologize. Just acknowledge what happened, and I don't think I said.
I acknowledge that black people were enslaved. It was horrible. It was racist. It was fucking awful. I wish it never happened. I think that it should be corrected, that the historical injustices still persist to this day, and that they should be addressed and corrected. I'm not seeing where the problem is.
Perfect. That's it from there. So, right. But do you think collectively? Do you think the white populace collectively has the same sentiment as you, or they go, well, whatever it happened, get over it? Which one do you think is more constant?
I think it's kind of a mixed bag, Devin. Yeah, I agree with you there. I think it's kind of a mixed bag, right? That like some white people certainly are still very racist and believe in sort of a racial hierarchy, all the way down to like there are white people who are very sort of progressive about it and think that like there should be I don't know what you call it, like a reorganization to correct historical injustices. It's kind of a mixed bag, right? But yeah, a lot of white people I would agree need to.
They don't care, right?
Yeah.
And I understand why they don't care, because they don't have to live in that space, right? They don't have to relate to what happened in that time frame, because they're in their own bubble, right? So I understand that. But once you go, you know what, I can't relate to this. So like when you talk about the healing process, it's pretty much what black people as a whole just want from that, instead of, well, why does it have to do with me? Oh, that's not racist. Yeah, the cop called this black guy the N-word, but he wasn't racist. Like everything was like that, right? And I'm just like, wait, what? Like, that was a racist remark. What do you mean? Oh, well, what was he doing? Yeah, his hands were up, but he kicked him in the back because he said something. Like, those things happen, and it's like, when this gaslighting continues, what do you want the opposing group that's laying hay like this about? What do you want them to say at that point? When you have, and just one more thing, when we have people wearing the Confederate flag saying it's heritage, forgetting that the Confederate wanted to expand slavery and continue it in Brazil and Mexico and South America and the Caribbean.
I agree with you completely.
Right? Like,
we have no disagreement there.
Yeah, go ahead. Man, that's all.
But I don't want an individual German teenager to be like, I'm sorry for the Holocaust then, because he didn't do the Holocaust.
Well, they pay reparations.
I don't want him to acknowledge the ways in which his country caused the Holocaust and to like take steps to avoid that sort of thing happening in Germany. But I don't think he should personally feel guilty for what happened. I think he can make equity choice on individual sort of how you should feel about these things is, did I do it? Am I morally responsible? And that's what you should feel guilty about. Not about sort of abstract collectives that you can be left
I have an argument that targets the specific attitude of Sam, or not attitude, that targets Sam specifically, right? Because today you're saying that you distrust or you deny these sort of abstract collectives, right? But yesterday, right, you talked about how you do see yourself, part of your identity is being part of Jewish collective, right? And not only that, you were talking about a situation where we had what's his name, El Normo or something, acting all stereotypically part of the right wing Israeli whatever Zionist, right? And you're like, oh, this is the kind of guy that I hate. This kind of guy, he makes us look bad, blah blah blah, right? So there, it seems like you're kind of sort of acknowledging some level of collective responsibility almost, right, between people of your collective. So if you think that that's possible, right, it should also be possible that you have maybe not you, I don't know what your ancestry is, but white people whose ancestors lived here and maybe even profited diffusely from black slavery, right? They also have a very small moral responsibility, at least enough moral responsibility that they should apologize.
It's with normal versus this other thing is, I'm saying normal right now has a responsibility not to promote stereotypes that will harm other Jews. That's something right now that he has a responsibility right now. I don't think I have a responsibility for what some ancient Jew did, or a normal heathen also doesn't have to know what ancient Jew did. We're responsible for our own actions today.
I was going to say, what you guys did to the Amalekites, man. So that's right.
Yeah, I'm just saying you see yourself as part of an abstract collective, right? At least to some extent, right? And to that extent, it feels natural that you should also have some moral participation, right?
I will say this. Here's my view. I don't think we should be taking credit and blame for our ancestors' actions. I think we shouldn't be doing that. Okay? In general. However, if we're gonna do that, if we're gonna be playing that game, then we can't only look at the demerits, we also have to look at the credits. So if you're gonna look at Germany, you then say, oh, Germany, yeah, they did the Holocaust, but they also had Goethe, they also had fucking Mozart, they also had fucking thousands of years of amazing culture, they also had amazing incredible mythology. You have to have sort of an actual fair squaring of the balance of the German people, and you don't only focus on everything bad that they did. If I was looking over life epoch and only focus on the worst thing you did, and not you as a totality, that would be unfair to you. Now, I don't think we should be looking at. You shouldn't be doing this whole thing about judging people as a whole. I don't think we should be doing it. But if you're going to do it, be fair about it. Okay. Look at the pluses and minuses.
Okay, yeah, that's fine, right? So the expectation isn't that the expectation is you can apologize, okay, for your part, for your sort of diffuse part of the bad stuff, right? While also saying you're welcome for great beer and Jaeger Schnitzel and all that stuff. But it's possible to do both, right? Apologize for one and take credit for the other. But I don't know, man. I'm not saying I necessarily believe this argument, but.
So there's a few things here. I don't actually give a fuck about whether or not you apologize to Zach Straw Man. Part of the reasons why this conversation usually never gets anywhere because people are not actually attacking the actual argument. All we're asking for is reparations. I don't give a damn if you personally apologize. And I don't give a fuck about ever talking to you again. What? If you never said anything about reparations or the slavery, I wouldn't care less. All I care about is the reparations part. That's it. Right? I'm saying it's full stop. 1,000% what Germany did in terms of apologizing and doing a mea culpa for Jews, that was the right thing to do. On top of that, I don't know if you guys know this, but Jewish organizations are actually trying to go back to Germany to get more reparations. But anyway, that being said, okay, I'm assuming, Sam, you're against that Jews going to Germany to get more reparations. You're against that, Sam?
Wait, you asked me about whether, should I ask a question? Sorry, I was reading the chat.
There are Jews right now petitioning Germany for more reparations. Are you against that or for it?
I'm against it.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So Al, my family is Polish. I give my application for reparations to Russia, Germany.
Poland got reparations. You didn't know that? Oh, you don't know your own history?
From who? Who did they get reparations?
Oh, you don't know your own history. Just Google it, bro. You don't know your own.
Sure. No, go ahead and enlighten me.
No, it's fine. Just Google. I don't care if you just Google it. You don't know your own history.
Well, I'm doubting your claim about. I mean, maybe like.
Yeah, Google it. Just Google it. I don't have to debate about it.
Maybe like Polish Jews, yeah.
What?
It seems like you don't know.
Bro, just Google it, man. You don't know your own history, bro. You say you're Polish. Google your own history. You know what happened after World War II.
All right, I'll Google it, but it's probably going to be some bullshit. Huh?
Yeah, look. Again.
Are you talking about the Marshall Plan to like rebuild Europe? What are you talking about?
Bro, just Google it, bro. And by the way, just to be clear,
if you knew so much about it, you could have just told me.
You said was false. You need to research your own history. So here's the thing, right? Because this is the most important aspect. Tyler, I don't care about you apologizing to me. Let me be clear. No Black American cares about Tyler apologizing.
Then you shouldn't have let off the fucking conversation with those.
No one said that. No, Tyler, stop. No one said that. My claim has been one thing and one thing alone. It's been about reparations. That's it. You guys interjected this apology shit. I don't give a fuck about an apology.
I'm sorry. That's what mea culpa means. So you asked about the mea culpa at first. We thought you meant a big I'm sorry versus.
You know what? For clarity's sake, I'll give you that. So what I was referring to and what I made the analogy was Germany. But I said they did a full mea culpa. I'm talking about everything that they did. That's what I was referring to. But I was more specifically referring to reparations. But that being said, they did a lot more than that, right? We all know they changed their history. Like even in Germany now, like any type of Holocaust denial is like legal. There's so many different things. Like you want to talk about clapdown on freedom of speech. There's a lot of clapdown on freedom of speech. And I'm actually okay with that, by the way. Let me be clear. I'm cool with that because of the history. You know what I'm saying? So I don't. But I'm saying the same thing should be done here in America. It seems like you guys just disagree.
So I think if you're an evil thug, if you deny the horrors of slavery, like if you deny that Americans did anything wrong there, that's evil. I think that we have a special responsibility to help Black people in this country. But then whether that means literal reparations checks, I don't know. A lot of this depends on the empirical question of how much will this actually help Black people, and whether it's a good policy depends on the empirical fact of whether it would help. So I'd be down with saying, hey, let's give $20,000 to 1,000 Black people and see how it turns out, because there are sort of windfall studies, and reliably when people get windfalls, it doesn't turn into generational wealth. This is an empirical finding from the social sciences that you can look into, or if you don't believe me, I can just do some studies on this matter. So that even is the case that giving windfalls doesn't reliably lead to generational wealth, then what is that thing to do to help Black people? You know?
Let me.
All right, just one quick point. No, hold on, Al. Just to show that Al is completely full of shit and doesn't know what he's talking about. So I asked ChatGPT, did Polish people get reparations after World War II? Poland did not receive direct reparations from Germany after World War II in the way some other countries did. Example, the Soviet Union or Israel. I can break down further if you'd like me to.
That's incorrect, but
he will believe the first lines of ChatGPT when he phrases a question in a weird way. No, I need to get.
Tell me how to phrase it then. You keep saying this, but you never tell me how to rephrase it.
At least Tyler, you're in the middle of a thread, Tyler. Tyler, we're in the middle of a thread, and then
sorry.
So, what do you have to say about the thing I just said about windfall studies and stuff?
I'm sorry. I want to make sure I get clarity. You're talking about in terms of how Black people receive reparations. Is that what you're referring to?
Okay. Part of the question of should we give Black people reparations is, would it actually help them build generational wealth? Would this actually be empirically a thing that leads to generational wealth?
Okay.
Do you think that this is okay? I pointed to windfall studies as evidence against giving people large sums of money being the sort of thing that
generation or two, they tend to even out outcomes.
So I know what you're talking about. Generational wealth usually dissipates by the third generation. It's almost gone by the second as well. I think the impoverished Black communities, so the lower incomes, should be, we'll say, compensated in a sense of restructuring, or just redeveloping their infrastructure in regards to where they live and schooling as well. So I think that would be the first line of reparations. And then when it comes to college and jobs and things like that, essentially give them a boost, right? Whether it be financial or even make them free the college or cheap. Or shoot, my name's So, to me, I think that's a pretty, just a simple, a soft version of reparations. In my opinion, now monetary, I don't know how much more you can do with that as far as money is concerned, but you give them a gateway to college and actually help educate them in school beforehand. That's an advantage already when it comes to housing, because Black people were discriminated in housing for a very long time, which white people have benefited from, and they still actually do. Give them an advantage as far as the loans are concerned when it comes to homes. Like things like that is, hey, white people are starting to benefit, where now we're even in the school. I think that's fair.
Yeah, just to answer your question, and I wanted to hear from Philip. But to answer your question, Sam, so that's kind of a paternalistic question about, okay, well, what are they going to do? Are they going to waste it? So the thing about reparations is about being a debt owed, regardless of what they do with it. That's number one. Secondly, who I think probably is the greatest economist on this particular issue is a guy named Sandy Garrity. You guys can Google him. Sandy Garrity. Him and his wife have done extensive work on this topic. And they kind of break down the racial wealth gap and particularly how reparations will help modify the racial wealth gap between Black and white people. But irregardless of that question, Sam, I just wanted to put that in there to directly answer your question. But irregardless of that, Black people deserve it. And if we're being honest, it's not just for slavery. It's also for peonage. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's also for Jim Crow laws. Also for the chain gang. I don't know why it's slipping my mind what the official term is. That's called the chain gang that they did with Black Americans as well. So it's not even just that. Black Americans didn't get true liberation until 1965. You know what I'm saying? So that's an important element to this concept.
Yeah. Now, the reason why I brought up the amount of people that died that are white, freeing the slaves, and the fact that there were so many people doing slavery throughout history, and it was a unique thing to end slavery. I think this is relevant to the sort of how much we think this is.
Why do you believe it was unique?
I don't think. Right now, there's a
slavery. You said that.
Yeah, I mean, before the British abolitionists, it was just basically unheard of. There was a few cases like Matilda of like fucking.
No, this is fake news.
Francia,
Sam,
like somewhere in France.
This is fake news, bro. You got this is.
I looked up.
I'll tell you. I don't even need to look it up. I'll tell you right now. So first of all, Haiti was the one that started it in the West, which was led by Black people. Let's just get that out to the back. Secondly, what a lot of people don't know is like there's like the Mandan Charter. You can Google this. The Mandan Charter, the Mali Kingdom, they banned slavery. I'll give you another one. What's the name of that? The Persian Empire under Cyrus the Great. They banned slavery. Japan, they banned slavery in the 1500s. Russia banned slavery in the 1700s. Also, on the continent of Africa,
that is not remotely true.
You can put it in your ChatGPT, bro. So here's
that
the
is not close.
Put it in your ChatGPT. Hold on. Yo, hold on. I'll tell you. What they're going to tell you is, so they banned it. Hold on. I'll tell you. Hold on. Stop. I'll tell you what happened. So they banned slavery, but they continue to allow serfdom. Now, here's the thing. If you consider serfdom still slavery, I'm okay with that. But then you also got to consider sharecropping, which happened in the United States until 1960s. You got to consider that slavery too. So if you want to say serfdom is slavery, I'm okay with that. But then you also have to say sharecropping is slavery, and then America essentially did ban slavery until 1965. You got to say that too.
What would you call against their will for forced labor in a location mean, they might have said the words, "We ban slavery," but if you continue to have slaves, you don't. You have to ban slavery.
So slavery is not a single concept, right? Like if it is part of a comparative discussions, that we're comparing slavery in the United States and slavery in Russia, right? Like chattel slavery, like even after a ban, like most studies, you can find like maybe 100 people that after a ban not the practice, right? Generally, you would still have what I would agree with you is called slaves, but if we're doing a comparative conversation, that would be correct, right? So again, slavery is a big chunk of all type of practices that includes domestic servants, right? And domestic servants would still remain that are slaves, right? That are still remain in Russia, but domestic slaves have nowhere near the experience of slavery in the United States. So again, if we're using comparative in a context of comparative conversations, the term has to be a little bit more defined. And for the purposes of the conversation Paul is having, right? Slavery in Russia, the one that was going on in the United States, was banned, is correct.
Yeah, so the point is, Sam, that this idea, there's a misunderstanding about the banning of slavery. In fact, there's so many different cultures. For example, in Africa, I can tell you, like the Kitover people, they never practiced slavery. Where my people come from, the Neri Kingdom, that was kind of like the seat of the Igbo Empire. They didn't practice slavery. The Crew Marines in Senegal, they didn't practice slavery. There's a lot of different places that never practiced slavery, didn't engage in slavery, or they banned slavery outright. That was not a novel or a unique thing. That's a very ahistorical approach that somehow British was the first ones that like ban slavery. Here's what I will say. I'll give the British credit for this. What the British did do that is probably different from everybody else, and Philip can probably correct me on this, is when they banned slavery, they kind of like started going around enforcing everybody else to ban slavery. Like that probably was kind of like a novel.
So, something that a little bit confuses me is why people focus so much more on American slavery than, like, for example, Brazilian slavery, which I just looked at the numbers on this.
We're Americans, bro. That's why.
Brazil had 4.9 million slaves imported, whereas the United States had 388,000, whereas Jamaica had 1 million slaves imported. Like, there's like something strange about how much people focus on the evil of the United States when, like, the United States did not import as many people as Brazil or Jamaica. We fought a literal war, killing a huge number of our population to free them. And then, like, I don't know, this is like, I feel like this is something that's ignored when we're saying how
Should Jewish people comparatively not focus on Holocaust and focus on Somalia genocide?
What do you mean?
Well, that's what you're asking.
I guess if you're asking, should American blacks focus on American blacks? Yeah. Yes, they should. But I've heard in other countries, like when I go to Europe, they talk about the brutality of American slavery, but then Brazil somehow
How does that relate to the conversation you were having previously?
Oh, I mean, this is a larger and broader conversation about like how evil the United States is in the law, and like in the grand scheme of things. So much should they apologize?
Well, it's basically like the oppression Olympics conversation. It's like who is oppressed most and who is most deserving of current status as deserving of historical reparations, right? And I would say that if we're to take the overall history of human beings, there are no more oppressed and classically discriminated against people than the Jewish people. I mean, it's not even close, right? Even if you want to say that they're not discriminated against now, which I think you have a very hard case of making that. Like, historically, the Jewish people have been the most oppressed, discriminated, tormented group of people throughout history.
Can somebody
like give me the full argument because this is like vague. Yeah.
Al demands reparations. Al wants reparations. He's saying that people who are from other groups got reparations, and he feels that it's unfair that they didn't get reparations. And I'm saying that if we're talking about the level of oppression among groups of people and we're dispensing reparations according to them, like a lot of people should be getting reparations, including my ancestry, the Polish people.
They have
not gotten reparations. They have nothing. That is not true. That is
They have in the 40s and the 50s. They have received reparations in terms of money and in terms of various cabinet.
No, the Soviet Union took some reparations and they mostly used it for industrialization.
Some
there was direct compensation for labor and slavery
and imprisonment.
You guys are full of shit.
This is like
uninformed and also an imp. Like I wanted to ask a question.
You call me an imp as many times as you want to, but it doesn't.
Stop interrupting me, you imp.
It's not going to make me stop interrupting.
Stop interrupting me.
Until you say something intelligent.
Stop interrupting me.
Back on the stage.
Stop interrupting me. Stop interrupting.
We got rid of them and now he's back.
Stop interrupting. Stop interrupting. Stop interrupting. Stop. Yeah, like I want to ask Sam a question. Do you think that Brazilian people talk about American slavery more than they talk about Brazilian slavery?
I don't know how Brazilians talk about race issues and reparations and slavery. I don't know. I haven't been to Brazil. I don't have any Brazilian.
I mean, it could be that like Americans and Europeans who know English like, talk about American slavery more because of that, and that like Brazilian people talk more about Brazilian slavery than American slavery, and that explains it.
Yeah, could explain it. There's something like there's another open question about reparations. It's just what is the what's the word in law? Statute of limitations. Like no one thinks that the Chinese can ask for the Mongolians for reparations for the millions of them that were slaughtered by Genghis Khan. And no one there is a certain point where people say, you know what, it was evil, but we can't and I don't think we have a good principle on what the statute of limitations says for historical crimes. And I think American slavery is in this awkward gray area where it's close to the limit of the statute of limitations. Like if it happened in the 1500s, I don't think anyone would accept that he had reparations. But because it happened up until the 1800s, it's you know what I mean? It's close. It's people can know directly the names of their ancestors that were enslaved. You know, it's not like a thing that's just a historical object.
Yeah, but America was supposed to do it, right? And gave reparations to slave owners. Ulysses Grant was like, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. And then they took back the land they were supposed to give to some of the freemen. So it's it was supposed to happen. You know what I mean? It was a deal that didn't.
What does the statute of limitations have to do with anything? You think it's a necessary component when you're evaluating justice or injustice? The statute of limitations?
Well, when it comes to reparations, that's when it's relevant.
You think it's a necessary component when you're evaluating injustice?
Well, no one thinks that the Chinese are owed reparations for Genghis Khan.
Just answer the question. The only reason that people wouldn't seek reparations in those type of instances is that it would just be impossible to figure out, right? And if it could be figured out, it would just be impossible to collect. So whatever the issues are with any other reparations issues, irrelevant to this particular case. So you've appealed to a very weak argument against it. Do you have anything else?
I think we all have the general idea that Islam is remote enough in history that seeking reparations for it is a little bit silly. And it's not just a matter of it's hard to figure out rules, but the whole thing is just insanely complicated because not only is it it's just so hard to do the counterfactual of how would life have been different if that hadn't happened.
What? You don't think you can do financial models from that point now, assuming a typical growth rate of a
totally agree with you. Reparations ought to be due. But what happens in reality is that, so it's the case of Germany, that paid reparations to everyone, the Jews, and the Sinti and Roma, etc. The problem is that the compensation that is paid, to the Herero people in Namibia as well, another example, the compensation that is paid is such an insult to the victims that, no matter how you go about this, it's always going to end up pissing people off even more.
So what? That's not an argument. What else you got?
What do you got, Concrete? Did you just come to spam like you always do? Think of one word, then the next word a second later, and then string together a sentence?
How did you get us to that anyway? You say what the fuck?
He's obsessed too. It's crazy.
Fuck that.
I think your room's open to anybody.
How the fuck did that happen?
Wait, which one of those things are rooms right now?
Did you let me up?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I guess I think America should do things specifically to help Black people in this country. It was just special focus on Black people should probably be made because of the crimes done. So special focus, yes. And whether or not that should be done by giving them money, I think probably not, because of like windfall studies that.
Bitch, quit fucking speaking to me, you dirtball, bitch. I told.
Well, I was there. Like, I was there, so I did take the pictures of this. So the pictures will be coming from, like, me. So it was me and him, we were talking on social media, and then he went on to a different social media platform. I don't know if you know what it's called. It's called Discord.
I've heard of Discord, yeah.
Yeah, so then he got on Discord and was... Hello?
We hear you, Zach. We're listening to
Oh, God.
This guy's back.
I'm back and I'm better than ever before. Funnier than you've ever heard me before. Auntie knows I just did my whole routine. Abby, don't dox me, Abby.
I like to hear that shit. I like to hear the karaoke too. Do y'all sing with the music, just the beat, or like
Every option. You know what's funny? Yo, Butcher got me off guard. You know what songs Butcher was singing on karaoke night?
Halo?
No.
What he was singing?
Rock songs.
That's what's up. No.
It just caught me off guard.
Yeah.
He was singing pop rock song.
He was over there like,
When Butcher puts up his old
He was like,
a million piercings and a million earrings. A million piercings. He, like...
oh, shit.
That's not shocking.
Oh, so he dead ass was a punk dude?
I'm telling you, bro.
He says he was in gangs and stuff, but he looks like I would have. Yeah.
Nobody said you say he was in a gang?
He was never no gangs.
Yeah, them black people don't fuck that gang shit. But that's the whole culture. Black rockers.
Oh, yo. Gotta ask you this question. Gang terminology. What do you think stack means?
You said stack?
Yeah. Gang terminology. Oh, okay. Thank you. So everybody from the east said that it's throwing up gang signs. Butcher says that no, stacking is only in Chicago. It only exists in Chicago. Stacking means showing your rank as a GD member. I said, yeah, maybe that's what I said. Maybe that's the origin of it. Maybe maybe, I don't know. But I said stacking means throwing up gang signs everywhere else. I said in Miami, we call it stacking. In New York, we call it stacking. New Jersey, New York, all the battle rappers call it stacking. This is a common thing. And he goes, no. That means showing up your rank in Chicago.
It means rank.
Yeah, showing up your rank in GD specifically. The GD, Gangster Disciples. That's
So you're saying like it's I don't get it.
Look. So King came in yesterday, and then Butcher was like, "Yo, King, what does stacking mean?" And King said the same thing. He said it means showing your rank in the GD. And I'm like, okay.
All right, let me try something.
Then I put it in ChatGPT. I said, what is the terminology used for throwing up gang signs? And then it said it's called stacking. And then I was like, and then the whole room went against me. They were like, oh my God, look at Malcolm's most wanted. Look at Malcolm's most wanted. I'm like, wait. You guys appeal to ChatGPT at every turn. But now
I didn't know that. So what is stacking means in Chicago? It means
it's showing your rank. Showing your rank.
But
as a gangster disciple.
They're using their fingers though, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what's the difference?
No, they said that stacking doesn't exist for any other gang. For example,
oh no, that's crazy.
I know. This is what they said. They said Bloods don't stack, Crips don't stack. No other gang besides GDs can stack. I said that's not true. I said every gang calls it stacking. I said I grew up around
younger people, maybe they don't know.
I said I grew up around five root niggas, and all the five root niggas I grew up with, we all stack.
On the back of the bus.
I told Butcher, I'm the only one in this room that can probably stack right now. I can stack.
Right.
And I'm like, once again, this is what we call it. And he was like, no, stacking is only in Chicago for GDs.
Well, just let them have it until they run into a five room. I don't fucking know. That's Chicago shit there.
What's up, blood?
No. What you was saying, Mike?
Yo, soup, whoop.
It's just funny because you guys are talking about still. Are you there?
Yeah, man.
What do you think stacking is when you hear it? What does it remind you of?
It's an arm bar defense or a triangle defense. Sound, kid.
Yeah. No, stacking is when you know, like that big brother position where you fold the legs over the head. You know what I'm talking about? So in jiu-jitsu, when you stack someone, when you're stacking them, it's basically like you're fucking.
Put your weight on top of them, right?
Yeah, you're folding knees over their head.
Yeah.
So you guys are talking about this like with context matters, dude. It's funny.
Yeah.
Stacking. I don't see how gang sign. I don't even see it. Like, how does that even make sense?
Because you like throw your hands over your hands. It looks like a jutsu. You start Naruto, Mike.
Oh, I see what you're. So it's like compiling. Okay, I get it now.
Right, and then it is a ranking thing where the first sign is probably your gang, and then it's the set under that gang, right? Then it's your region, then it's your rank, whether you're a soldier, whether you're da-da-da, and then you probably have your own call sign that you add to that. You feel me?
Yeah,
or it might be different by regions, but
I think that's why they call it stacking. I don't fucking know.
Dog, I saw this lady start doing sign language, but I didn't know she was there. And I thought she was banging. I was like, oh shit, what the fuck? But she was literally just speaking sign language. I was like, but nah,
I used to think that shit was cool. That shit looked cool as fuck. I never stacked, but I mean, niggas always tried to stack. You feel me? You always got that cousin that's in the gang or some shit that be teaching you that shit. But outside of that, it looked like a fucking handshake or something that you doing with yourself. But yeah, I never heard. I think what it is younger people, they think that things are just exclusive to their areas and people that don't travel. You know what I'm saying? Not saying Butcher don't travel, maybe he does, right? But people that are from and grew up on their block, they tend to think certain things. Because before I left New York, I was very close-minded, bro. Swear to God. I thought New York, at fucking 9, 10 years old, I thought New York was the capital of the planet, like Earth. I thought we were the capital of all down south, you like, oh shit. So moving, that's one thing, and I think just being around different people. After a while of just breaking down stereotypes and shit like that, like you run into somebody that's just against what you, like your mother told you people are like, or you know, it's like you start to be like, all right, maybe there's more to life than what the fuck I think I know.
That's true.
Said for pride, fought the Civil War to free black people. That's what he said, right? I said, so how do we know that, right? So now you're pointing me to a letter. The letter is insufficient to make Sam's argument, right? The overreach was not in my demand for evidence. The overreach was in Sam's statement, right?
Which was supported by an underreach, and then a complaining and crying for sufficiency.
It has become extremely plausible that this trip between the maternity ward and the crematorium is what there is to life. And we still have, going into our common sense, the 19th century myth, which succeeded the ceramic myth in Western history. I call it the myth of the fully automatic model of the universe. Namely, that it's stupid, it's blind force, Haeckel's gyration or fortuitous congress of atoms is of the same vintage as Freud's libido, the blind surge of lust at the basis of human psychology. But when you consider this attitude, you know, what is the poetic counterpart? Man is a little germ that lives on an unimportant rock ball that revolves about an insignificant star on the outer edges of one of the small galaxies. No, I want to put down that one. But on the other hand, if you think about that for a few minutes, I am absolutely amazed to discover myself on this rock ball, rotating around a spherical fire. It's a very odd situation. And the more I look at things, I cannot get rid of the feeling that existence is quite weird. I know that. See, a philosopher is a sort of intellectual yokel who gawks at things that sensible people take for granted. And sensible people, existence is nothing at all. I mean, it's just basic, just go on and do something. See, this is the current movement in philosophy. Logical analysis says you mustn't think about existence. It's a meaningless concept. Therefore, philosophy has become the discussion of trivia. And philosophical journals is now as satisfactorily dull as any other kind of purely technical inquiry. No good philosopher lies awake nights worrying about the destiny of man and the nature of God and all that sort of thing. Because a philosopher today is a practical fellow who comes to the university with a briefcase at 9 and leaves at 5. He does philosophy during the day, which is discussing whether certain sentences have meaning and if so what. And then he would, as William Earl said in a very funny essay, he would come to work in a white coat if he thought he could get away with it. Problem is, he's lost his sense of wonder. Wonder is like, in modern philosophy, something you mustn't have. It's like enthusiasm in 18th century England. It's very bad form. But you see, I don't know what question to ask when I wonder about the universe. It isn't a question that I'm wondering about, it's a feeling that I have. Imagine, if you had an interview with God, everybody was going to have an interview with God, and you were allowed to ask one question. What would you ask? And don't rush into it. You will soon find that you have no idea what to ask. Because I cannot formulate the question that is my wonder. The moment my mouth opens to utter it, I suddenly find I'm talking nonsense. But that should not prevent wonder from being the foundation of philosophy. Well, as Aristotle said, wonder is the beginning of philosophy. Because it strikes you that existence is very, very strange. And then more so when this so-called insignificant little creature has inside his skull a neurological contraption that is able to center itself in the midst of these incredible expanse of galaxies and start measuring the whole thing. That is quite extraordinary.
Last time I did check, there was only one race of humans on this planet, right?
We don't make sure self-evident. You know the thing.
Hey, bro, I heard you earlier. You remember me from earlier? They killed you instantly. They hated you.
We got the clown in the house. Watch out.
Yeah, God has a addiction for everyone.
Listen, hey,
just as talented as white kids.
That's hilarious.
You got some shit. Sasha was saying God has a dick for everyone.
Kicked him.
You can't go to a 7-Eleven without seeing an Indian. He's telling the truth, though. He wasn't lying. I mean, let's be fucking honest. He was telling the truth.
I was in a room earlier. It was probably 8 knocks, and he came in and just crushed. Everybody got so mad, and I was laughing.
To me?
No comedy. He came in, and I was trying to go against him, just trying to.
Oh, God, my composure.
He comes in, it's like this.
Oh, no, sorry, I mean that. It's like this.
He came in, they all broke down. It was hilarious. They're like, get the fuck out of here. I was joining them, and I was trying to not laugh so bad.
They're so unfair.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's probably capable of anybody on this app. That's why that whole incognito thing is pretty good. For me, man, I might be close second, maybe, because I disagree with people. I don't total line with people, you know?
Yes, I've seen you from time to time as well. Yeah, just from random rooms. I think that you do what I do. I kind of just go from random rooms from time to time and just kind of see if people are cool with it. If they're not cool, then I kind of talk shit. That's what I go.
Yeah.
But hey,
My favorite are the black rooms that, they're having an interesting conversation. Join in. Then they figure out that you're white. And they're like, oh, whitey. And I'm like, all right, you had to go there. I don't know how to go there. I want to have it.
don't ever say that. See, I got them against the fence whether I'm white or black or not. Because it was, are you white? I'm like, no. They're like, are you black? I'm like, I'm something. And then half the black girls are like, no, he's black. He's black. The other ones are like, no, he's white. He's white.
Yeah, you can tell by their way.
Where there are no eyes, the sun will not be light. And that in a world where there were no soft skins, rocks would not be hard. Nor in a world where there were no muscles, would they be heavy. Existence is relationship, and you are smack in the middle of it. So, there is obviously a place in life for a religious attitude in the sense of awe, astonishment at existence. And that is also a basis of respect for existence. We don't have very much of it in this culture, even though we call it materialistic. A materialist is a person who loves material. And I suppose in the Christian tradition and in the Jewish one would say that the Lord God is the greatest materialist. Because, as William Temple once said, God is interested in many other things than religion. Were God only interested in religion, the world would consist of nothing but church buildings and Bibles and clergymen. boring. So, in the culture that we call materialistic today, we are, of course, bent on the total destruction of material and its conversion into junk and poisonous gas as quickly as possible. This is not a materialistic culture because it has no respect for material. And respect is in turn based on wonder, on feeling the marvel of just an ordinary pebble in your fingers. So I'm afraid, you see, for the God is dead theology, that it will sort of drift off into secular do-goodery in the name of Jesus. And this is, I think, where we can be strongly revivified and stimulated by the introduction into our spiritual life of certain things that are oriental. Now you see, it must be understood that the crux of the Hindu and Buddhist disciplines is an experience, not a theory, not a belief. If we say that a religion is a combination of creed, code, and cult, in other words, this is true of Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, and if they are religions, Buddhism is not. Because the creed is a revelation, a revealed symbolism of what the universe is about, and you are commanded to believe in it on the divine authority. The code is the revealed will of God for man, which you are commanded to obey, and the cult is the divinely revealed form of worship that you must practice. Commandment, because God is boss, is ruler, King of kings and Lord of lords. But the disciplines, say, of yoga in Hinduism, or of the various forms of Buddhist meditation, do not require you to believe anything. And they have no commandments in them. They do indeed have precepts, but they are really vows which you undertake and on your own responsibility, not in obedience to anybody. They are experimental techniques for changing consciousness. And the thing they are mainly concerned with is helping human beings to get rid of the hallucination that each one of us is a skin-encapsulated ego. You know, a little source, a little man inside your head, located between the ears and behind the eyes, who is the source of conscious attention and voluntary behavior. Most people, you know, don't really think that they are anything but that, and that the body is a thing you have. Mummy, who would I have been if my father had been someone else? See, the parents give you the body and you pump the soul into it at some period, conception or parturition, nobody could ever decide. And this attitude stays with us, that we are something in a body, that we have a body, and we are not it. So we experience the beating of the heart as something that happens to me, whereas talking or walking is something that I do. Don't you beat your heart? The language won't allow you to think that. It's not customary to say so. How do you think? How do you manage to be conscious? You don't know. How do you open and close your hand? Do you know? If you're a physiologist, you may be able to say, but that doesn't help you to open and close your hand any better than I do. See, I know how to do it, but I can't put it into words. In the same way, the Hindu God knows how he creates this whole universe, because he does it. But he wouldn't explain it. That would be stupid. You might as well try to drink the Pacific Ocean with a fork. So when a Hindu gets enlightened and he recovers from the hallucination of being a skin-encapsulated ego, and finds out that central to his own self is the eternal self of the universe. And you go up to him and say, well, how do you do all this? He says, well, just like you open and close your hand. And because we're all dead. Whenever a questioner used to come to Sri Ramana, the great Hindu sage who died a few years ago, they said to him, Master, was I living before in a previous incarnation? And if so, who was I? He would say, who is asking the question? Who are you? And a spiritual teacher in both Hinduism and Buddhism is a kind of, well, what he does to awaken you, to get you over the hallucination of being the skin-encapsulated ego, he bugs you in a certain way. He has a funny look in his eye. As if to say, come off it, Shiva, I know what you're doing. He said, what, me? He looks at you in a funny way. And finally, you get feeling that he sees all the way through you. And therefore that all your selfish and evil thoughts and nastinesses are transparent to this gaze. And then you have to try and alter them. He suggests, you see, that you practice the control of the mind, that you become desireless. You give up selfish desire so as to cease to be a skin-encapsulated self. Then you may have some success in quieting your mind and concentrating. But then after that, you throw a curve at you, which is, but aren't you still desiring not to desire? Why are you trying to be unselfish? Well, the answer is I want to be on the side of the big battalions. I think it's going to pay better to be unselfish than to be selfish. Well, Luther saw that. Augustine saw that. But there it is. Because what he's done, you see, he's beginning to make you see the unreality, the hallucinatory quality of a separate self. This has merely conventional reality in the same sense as lines of latitude and longitude, the measurements of the clock. That's why one of the meanings of Maya, illusion, is measurement. Things, for example, are measurements. They are units of thought, like inches are units of measurement. There are no things in physical nature. How many things is a thing? Is any number you want. Because a thing is a think, a unit of thought. As much of reality as you can catch hold of in one idea. So, when this realization of the hallucination of the separate self comes about, it comes about through discovering that your alleged separate self can't do anything. It can't improve itself, either by doing something about it or by doing nothing about it. Both ways are based on illusion. You see, this is what you have to do to get people out of hallucinations. You make them act consistently on the suppositions of the hallucination. People who believe that the earth is flat cannot possibly be talked into seeing that it's round, because they know it's flat. Because can't you see? So what you do is this, you say, let's go and look over the edge. Wouldn't that be fun? But you see, to be sure that we do get to the edge, we must be very careful not to walk in circles. So you perform a discipline. You go steadily and rigorously westwards along latitude 40 or something. And then when you get back to the place where you started, he is convinced that the world is at least cylindrical. By experiment. By reductio ad absurdum of his premises. And so in the same way, the Guru, whether Hindu or Buddhist, performs a reductio ad absurdum on the premise of the skin-encapsulated ego. Well, what happens then? You might imagine from garbled accounts of Eastern mysticism that one thereupon disappears forever into an infinite sea of faintly mauve jello. And become so lost to the world and entranced that you forget your name, address, telephone number, and function in life. And nothing of the kind happens. The state of mystical illumination, although it may, in its sudden onset, be accompanied by a sensation of tremendous luminescence and transparency, as you get used to it, it's just like everyday life. Here are the things that you formerly thought were separate individuals, and here is you, who you formerly thought was merely confronting these other people. When the great Dr. D.T. Suzuki was asked, what is it like to be enlightened? He said, it's just like ordinary everyday experience, except about 2 inches off the ground. Because what is altered is not the way your senses perceive. What is altered is what you think about it. Your definitions of what you see. your evaluation of it. So when you don't cling to it, when you have no longer a hostile attitude to the world because you know the world is you, it is. I mean, let's take it from the point of view of biology. If I describe the behavior of a living organism, I cannot possibly describe that behavior without simultaneously describing the behavior of the environment. So that I discover that I don't describe organisms in environments. I describe a unified field of behavior called an organism environment. It's an awkward word. But there it is. The environment doesn't push the organism around. The organism doesn't push the environment around. They are two aspects or poles of the same process. And so you have to understand that this attitude towards nature, seeing the fundamental unity of the self which manifests it all, is not an attitude, as missionaries are apt to suppose, which denies the value of differentiation. You must understand the principle of what are called identical differences. Take a coin. The head side is a different side from the tail side, and yet the two are inseparable. Take the operation of buying and selling. Selling is a different operation from buying, but you can't buy unless somebody sells at the same time and vice versa. This is what is meant by the underlying unity of opposites, what is called in Hinduism Advaita, or non-duality, or when the Chinese use the word Tao to designate the way of operation of the positive and negative principles, the yang and the yin. It is not a unity that annihilates differences, but a unity which is manifested by the very differentiations that we perceive. Just as it's all polar. It's like the two poles of a magnet. Different, but yet one magnet. So when we say, Oriental monism is a point of view towards life which merges everything into a kind of sickening goo. This is terribly unfair. It just isn't so. If you argue that the sort of doctrine that everybody is really the Godhead destroys the possibility of real love between individuals, because you have to be definitely other than I if I'm to love you. Otherwise it's all self-love. Well, that argument collapses in view of the doctrine of the Trinity. If the three persons are one God, then they can't love each other by the same argument. Hinduism simply uses the idea which is in the Christian Trinity, only it makes it a multi-Trinity instead of a three-one. That's all. Of course, the thorn in the flesh is always in approaching a doctrine which seems to be monistic or pantheistic. What about evil? Are we to make the ground of being responsible for evil? And we don't want to do that because we want to keep God's skirts clean. In spite of the fact that our own Hebrew Bible says, I am the Lord, there is none else. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. And haven't you heard the story about the Yetzer Hara? That according to Jewish theology, the Lord God had planted in Adam at the beginning of time a thing called the Yetzer Hara. It means the wayward spirit. I call it the element of irreducible rascality. And it's very necessary to have this in order to be human. You see, how it was done was this prohibition not to eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge. That was the one sure way of getting it eaten. But of course, when the Lord God accused Adam and said, you've been eating of that tree I told you not to eat. And he passed the buck to Eve and said, this woman that thou gavest me, she tempted me and I did eat. He looked at Eve, now what about? She said, well, it was the serpent. He looked at the serpent. The serpent didn't say anything. Because he knew too much, and he wasn't going to give away the show. Who is it that sits at the left hand of God? We know who sits at the right hand. It's hushed up, because that's the side where the district attorney sits. And in the book of Job, of course, you know, Satan is the district attorney at the court of heaven. He's the prosecutor. He's a faithful servant of the court. Because, you see, the whole problem is, it would be very bad indeed if God were the author of evil and we were his victims. That is to say, if we keep the model of the king of the universe and the creatures are all subjects of the king, then a God who is responsible for evil is being very unkind to other people. But in this theory, God is not another person. There are no victims of God. He's never anything but his own victim. You are responsible. And if you want to stay in the state of illusion, stay in it. But you can always wake up. I want to start out by explaining quite carefully what I mean by mythology. The word is very largely used today to mean fantasy, or something that is definitely not fact. And it's used, therefore, in a pejorative or put-down sense, so that when you call something a mythology or a myth, it means you don't think much of it. But the word is used by philosophers and scholars in quite another sense, where to speak in the language of myth is to speak in images rather than to speak in what you might call plain language, or the language of fact, descriptive language. You can sometimes say more things with images than you can say with concepts. As a matter of fact, images are really at the root of thinking. One of the basic ways in which we think is by analogy. We say a certain thing is, say, we think of the life of human beings might be compared to the seasons of the year. Now, there are many important differences between a human life and the cycle of the seasons, but nevertheless, one talks about the winter of life or the spring of life, and so the image becomes something that is powerful in our thinking. Furthermore, when we try to think philosophically and think in abstract concepts about the nature of the universe, we often do some very weird things. You see, it's considered nowadays naive to think of God as an old gentleman with a long white beard who sits on a golden throne and is surrounded with winged angels. And we say now no sensible person could possibly believe that God is just like that. Therefore, if you get more sophisticated, you believe that God is, say, if you follow St. Thomas Aquinas, you think of God as necessary being. Or if you think with Buddhists, you think of God as the undifferentiated void, or as the infinite essence. But actually, however rarefied those concepts sound, they are just as anthropomorphic, that is to say, just as human, and in the form of the human mind, as the picture of God as the old gentleman with the white beard, or the Lord in green pastures wearing a top hat and smoking a cigar. Because all ideas about the world, whether they be religious, philosophical, or scientific, are translations of the physical world and of worlds beyond the physical into the terms and shapes of the human mind. So there is no such thing as a non-anthropomorphic idea. The advantage of Delord in talking about these things is that nobody takes it quite seriously. Whereas the undifferentiated aesthetic continuum could be taken seriously. And that would be a great mistake. Because you would think you understood what the ultimate reality is. So I'm going to use very largely naive mythological terms to discuss these matters. And if you are a devout Christian, you mustn't be offended by this, because you will naturally think that you have risen now to a more superior idea of these things than these very simple terms derived from the imagery of the Bible and of the medieval church. But I shall discuss Hinduism in the same way. And I'm going to begin with Hinduism, to give you a sort of fundamental account of what it's all about. I imagine some of you were present at the lecture I gave in the university on religion and art. And I discussed the view of the world as drama. Now I want to go more thoroughly into this, because the Hindu view of the universe is fundamentally based on the idea of drama. That is to say, of an actor playing parts. The basic actor in this drama is called Brahma. And this word comes from the Sanskrit root, which means to swell or expand. And the Hindu idea of Brahma, the supreme being, is linked with the idea of the self. In you, deep down, you feel that there is what you call I. And this word, when you say I am, that in Sanskrit is aham, A-H-A-M. And everybody, when asked what his name is, replies, I am I. I am I myself. And so there is the thought that in all life, the self is the fundamental thing. It means the center. And so the Brahma is looked upon as the self and center of the whole universe. And the idea fundamentally is that there is only one self. And each one of us is that self. Only it radiates like a sun or a star. And just as the sun has innumerable rays, or just as you can focus the whole sun through a magnifying glass and concentrate it on one point, or as an octopus has many tentacles, or as a sow has many tits, so in this way, Brahma is wearing all faces that exist, and they are all the masks of Brahma. Not only human faces, but animal faces, insect faces, vegetable faces, and mineral faces. Everything that there is the Supreme Self playing and being that. Because the fundamental process of reality is, according to the Hindu myth, hide and seek, that or lost and found. That is the basis of all games. And it's true, isn't it, that when you start to play with a baby, and you take out the book, and you hide your face behind it, and then you peek out at the baby, and then you peek out this way, the baby begins to giggle. Because a baby, being near to the origins of things, knows intuitively that hide and seek is the basis of it all. And children like to get on, they sit in a high chair, and they have something on the tray, and make it gone. And then somebody picks it up and puts it back. They make it gone again, you see. Now then, that's a very sensible arrangement. It is called, in Sanskrit, it's called lila. And that means sport or play, but the play is hide and seek. Now, let's go a little bit into the nature of hide and seek, because don't let me insult your intelligence by telling you some of the most elementary things that exist. Really everything is a question of appearing and disappearing. For example, if I sit next to a beautiful girl and I put my hand on her knee and leave it there, after a while she'll cease to notice it. But if I gently pat her on the knee, because now I'm there and now I'm not, it will be more noticeable. So all reality is a matter of coming and going. It is vibration. It is waves of positive and negative electricity. It's up and down. And things like wood appear to be solid because in much the same way that the blade of a fast-moving electric fan appears to be solid. So the vast agitation that is going on in the electrical structure of solid things, really agitation, which will not allow the agitation called by hand to go through it. Other kinds of agitation, like X-rays, are so constructed that they can get through. So everything is basically coming and going. For example, sound. If you listen to sound and slow sound down, in the same way you can slow sound down in the same way as you can use a magnifying glass to look at the structure of something visible. And as when you look at the magnifying glass, you find that solid things are full of holes. So when you magnify sound, you find it's full of silences. Sound is sound hyphen silence. There is no such thing as pure sound, just as there is no such thing as pure something. Something always goes together with nothing. Solids are always found in spaces, and no spaces are found except where there are solids. You might imagine there being a space without any solid in it, but you will never encounter one, because you will be there in the form of a solid to find out about it. You see, they go together, these things. The solid and the space, the positive and the negative, the here we are and here we aren't, go together in the same way as the back and front of a coin. And you can't have a coin that has a back and no front. The only thing that gets anywhere near that is a Mobius strip, which is a mathematical conceit, in which the back and the front are the same. But that only shows in a more vivid way how backs and fronts go together. Now, so the whole thing is based on that, you see. Now, once we've got this game, that there are two different things, but they're really the same. See, the Brahma is what is basic. But the Brahma manifests itself in what are called the Dvandva. And that means the pairs of opposites. Duality. Dva, you see, is the root of the Sanskrit word for two, which becomes duo in Latin and dual in English. Two is the basis. You can't go behind two, because one has an opposite. The opposite of one is none. Now, what is in common between one and none? No one can say. You can't mention it. It's called Brahma. It's sometimes called Om. O-M. And, but you can't really think of what is in common between black and white. There is obviously a conspiracy between black and white, because they're always found together. Tweedledum and Tweedledee agreed to have a battle. See, there's always an agreement underlying this difference. But that is what we call implicit. The difference is explicit. So the first step in what you might call the hide phase of the game of hide and seek is to lose sight of the implicit unity between black and white, between yes and no, between existence and non-existence. And that losing sight of the fundamental unity is called Maya. Maya, a word that means many things, but primarily it means creative power or magic, and also illusion. The illusion that the opposites are really separate from each other. And once you could think that they are really separated from each other, you can have a very thrilling game. The game is, oh dear, black might win. Or, we must be quite sure that white wins. Now, which one ought to win? Sometimes when you look at this, you would say, the reality here is the writing. That is what is significant. And yet, there are many patterns that one can have when you're undecided in your mind as to what is the figure and what is the background. It could be a black design on a white sheet, or it could be a white design on a black sheet. And the universe is very much like that. Space, or the background of things, isn't nothing.
I'm going to restart this YouTube channel. It's going to be Alan Watts.
If I draw that,
just go to the profile and just wait for the new live. I'll be right back.
We'll say that I have drawn a circle or a disc, or a